In the dead of night, 16-year-old Yudo Hatano sits glued to his computer, completely obsessed with a gal game. While others move on, he finds himself drawn back to this world, wishing his own school life was even half as exciting before finally heading to bed. He steals one last glance at the title screen, After School Florist, before drifting off into a deep sleep. The peaceful silence is shattered by the piercing 7 a.m. scream of his alarm clock. A young man with striking two-toned hair sits up, groggily silencing the noise while dreading the monotonous school day ahead. But as he passes the mirror, a reflection catches his eye that brings him to a sudden grinding halt. Confusion turns to pure shock as he stares at a complete stranger. He recoils in horror at those sinister, villainous features he recognizes with terrifying clarity. The realization hits him like a lightning bolt. He points a trembling finger at the glass, realizing he's looking at Kanji Aku, the notorious villain from the game. Standing in the middle of the room, he pieces the impossible together. He hasn't just woken up. He's been reincarnated directly into the game world. Suddenly, his phone glows with a mysterious app called Wei. Who are you? The game's legendary character status screen. He opens the profile only to find that Kanji Aku's stats are an absolute train wreck. His charm, intelligence, and social skills are all bottom tier, sending him spiraling into total despair. Accepting his grim new reality as the ultimate loser, he taps into the tips section, desperately searching for a guide to survive. The app provides cryptic hints for conquering the heroines, warning him that the only way to reach the end is to win them over, all while his life bar sits at a steady 100. A sudden realization sparks a wave of adrenaline. If he's in the game, he finally gets to wear the prestigious school uniform. His mind races as he thinks of the beautiful heroines. If they're real, he can win their hearts just like he did on screen, starting with the elegant girl in the butterfly clip. He imagines another beauty offering him the ultimate prize, a soft lap to rest his head on. The fantasies escalate as he pictures himself walking hand in hand with the cheerful girl in twin buns. He even dares to dream of sharing a passionate kiss with the game's lead heroines. With the prospect of building a real-life harem, his dread vanishes, replaced by an overwhelming urge to get to campus. Now fully dressed in his uniform, he stands before his apartment door, where the nameplate Aku confirms his new identity. Stepping outside, he spots a signpost for Sumigakaka 3-17, the exact location from the game, solidifying his place in this strange new reality. He stands in awe as the reality of his situation sinks in. Before him lies the entrance to Suzumigaka High School. He is officially inside the game world. Approaching the gates, his eyes lock onto a girl with striking, long, dark hair. A spark of recognition hits him. Could it really be Akira? His heart races. It's her. Akira Tomasada, the most notoriously difficult heroine to conquer in the entire game. The realization sends a surge of adrenaline through his veins. That hype is instantly vaporized when he checks her status. Her affection level is already at a catastrophic -25. Before he can process this, Akira brushes past him with a cold huff. She doesn't even spare him a glance, leaving him terrified that his chance is already slipping away. He frantically checks the tips section on his phone, which labels her the goddess of the entrance. It carries a lethal warning. Confessing your love at first sight results in an immediate game over. Still, he can't help but admire how stunning she is up close. Suddenly, she turns to face him with an unreadable expression. "Morning, Aku," she says. He recognizes this instantly. It's a scripted event. Reality grinds to a halt as 3 dialogue choices materialize in mid-air. Greet her, compliment her, or ignore her. It's a classic RPG mechanic brought to life. He looks around to find everyone frozen in time. This isn't a dream. It's a game feature. He realizes the world won't budge until he makes his move. Playing it safe, he simply replies with a "morning." Instantly, time resumes as birds take flight and the schoolyard ambiance floods back in. But his relief is short-lived. Akira's voice pierces the air, screaming his name in a desperate warning. He turns, only to find the massive grille of a truck barreling toward him. There's zero time to react. The vehicle plows into him with bone-shattering force, launching his body through the air. One violent flash of impact, and then absolute darkness. He jolts awake with a blood-curdling scream, clutching his chest in his bed. His mind reels from the horrific memory. He was certain he just died. As his breathing slows, he stares at his hands. It felt too visceral to be a dream. He reasons that if Kanji Aku had truly died, his soul should have returned to his original body as Yudo Hitano. Staying in this room confirms his worst fear. It wasn't a dream. He checks his phone to find his HP bar has plummeted to 90 out of 100. A notification chillingly confirms his life has been depleted. Back on the street, he scrolls through cryptic, useless tips like "Don't give up" and "The spot of the promise." Suddenly, he spots a familiar man walking the same fluffy dog. A cold realization washes over him. Everything is repeating. This means what happens next is his arrival at the school gate. Right on cue, Akira Tomasada approaches with that same stoic face. "Morning, Aku," she repeats. Her greeting freezes time once again, forcing him to face the exact same choices. He's caught in a loop, and this time, he knows a single wrong answer means certain death. He grapples with the memory of his demise. Was it a fluke? Or does every wrong choice guarantee a fatal end? To survive this new reality, he must uncover the rules as the morning resets once again. His focus is shattered by a horrific vision, a student frozen as a truck barrels toward him. He and Akira Tomasada scream in terror, a brutal reminder that death is always lurking. The vision vanishes, leaving him trembling. This is no dream. Choosing the wrong path as the villain results in death, and his status bar now shows his life force has dropped to 80%. He analyzes the situation with cold logic. If the first option failed, another must be the key. To break this infinite loop, he must conquer every choice the game throws at him. With renewed resolve, time rewinds. He's back at the school gate facing Akira. The same three options appear: greet her, compliment her, or ignore her. This time, he won't fail. He shifts his strategy. Since the first choice was a death sentence, the second must be the path forward. Taking a deep breath, he decides to go with the compliment. Flashing a confident smile, he delivers the line perfectly, telling Akira she looks as stunning as ever this morning. The compliment lingers for a second before a hooded figure lunges from the shadows. The stranger snarls with contempt, labeling him a total creep. Before he can even blink, a searing pain explodes in his back. The hooded man has driven a blade straight into him. He collapses onto the cold pavement. Akira rushes to him, cradling his head in her lap as she desperately begs him to stay alive. He jolts awake with a scream, the phantom pain still agonizing. His life force has plummeted to 70. He curses this twisted game. It was supposed to be a romance, not a brutal nightmare. As his panic fades, he begins to contemplate. The game's premise is simple. Get close to the heroines and win their hearts. It should be a straightforward path to victory. Suddenly, a chilling realization strikes him. A dark, knowing grin spreads across his face as the truth finally dawns. He isn't the hero of this story. He's the villain, Kanji Aku. The world stabilizes around him. He's back at school, where Akira greets him with a simple, "Morning, Aku." The name confirms his dark new reality. His gaze hardens with grim determination. As the villain, he realizes there is only one viable way to play this game. The choices materialize once more. Without a moment's hesitation, he selects the third option. Ignore her. He brushes past her without a single word. At first, he's confused by the lack of a reaction, but then it clicks. This is a move a protagonist would never make. Akira speaks up, her voice measured and cold. She explains that a greeting is common courtesy, and she's only talking to him for a very specific reason. As a member of the discipline committee, she's just doing her duty. He sees her icy demeanor as the perfect setup, convinced her cold heart will eventually melt. But Akira isn't the only target. His mind drifts to the other heroines, the bubbly childhood friend, Yua Minamoto, and the prim student council president, Mikamo Hawaii. The full cast is finally coming into focus. His gaze shifts to another key figure, Elena Hiroi, the half-Japanese blonde tsundere. Seeing these heroines in the flesh, a wave of awe washes over him. Alongside Akira Tomasada, 4 other heroines populate this classroom, forming a nexus for the game's central plot lines. Suddenly, the protagonist himself appears, Shun Ogasawara. Yudo realizes reality is already warping, as Shun is far more popular than the script intended. 2 choices materialize: mock his appearance or ignore him. He recognizes this moment instantly. It's the scene where the villain, kanji aku, is supposed to antagonize the hero with biting insults. Why he was reincarnated as the despicable kanji aku remains a total mystery. With a sharp, confident grin, he fully embraces his role, selecting the antagonistic option and sneering at the protagonist's supposedly gloomy vibe. His resolve hardens into a single, unwavering purpose. He will become the ultimate villain, or do whatever it takes to survive. After school, he clenches his fist with newfound determination. He might not be special, but he possesses forbidden knowledge of this world, and he's ready to put his plan into motion. He approaches the classroom door with a confident smirk, waving as he calls out to the students, demanding their attention for a moment. His attempt is met with total indifference. Yua Minamoto is cheering, Mikamo is glued to her phone, and Elena is lost in a book. They ignore him completely. Defeated, he realizes his social stats are simply too low to even initiate a conversation. Meanwhile, Akira Tomasada sits quietly at her desk. His focus shifts. He remembers Akira greeted him earlier despite his pathetic stats. If the game's logic holds, he might actually have a shot with her. Pivoting to this new strategy, he marches over to Akira's desk and drops a bombshell. "Hey, Tomasada, you're into him, aren't you?" She jumps, startled by the sudden interrogation. Looking up in a panic, she defensively asks who on earth he's talking about. Quickly composing herself, she closes her eyes and dismisses him, insisting she treats everyone fairly, even a delinquent like him. He presses the issue without naming names, pointing out the sadness in her eyes whenever she sees Shun Ogasawara laughing with other girls. Her eyes widen in pure shock. The truth of Akira's situation is laid bare. She's the hardest character to conquer. Lacking any experience in love, she can only watch from the shadows as her crush flirts with everyone else. She averts her gaze, a faint blush creeping onto her cheeks as he continues his verbal assault. He knows her secret, and she desperately insists it's none of his business. However, every word is a calculated move. Internally, he smirks as the game system finally presents him with a new set of choices. The interface reveals a shocking development. His affection level with Akira has jumped to 5. He's stunned to see his points finally climb out of the negatives. This shift in affection provides a clear path forward. An image of Shun Ogasawara flashes in his mind, the typical hero's choice to listen to her woes, but Yudo scoffs. He's no generic protagonist, and Ogasawara can just sit back and watch. With his decision finalized, he exhales a sigh of relief, certain he's made the right move. As Ogasawara disappears down the hall, Yudo turns to make his exit. He only takes a few steps before a desperate voice pierces the silence. "Akira," her composure shattered, shouts for him to wait. He stops and turns as she gathers her courage, asking if they can speak after school. Unfazed, Yudo instantly deduces the topic. Ogasawara. Her blush intensifies as she quietly confirms his suspicion. Watching her reaction, a simple thought crosses his mind. She's actually cute. Her confirmation carries a heavy sadness as her mind drifts to a smiling Shun. She recalls her own struggles, her inability to express feelings, and her crippling awkwardness, realizing she might never be his. A heavy, unspoken sorrow hangs in the air. Yudo lowers his head, hiding his expression, and speaks with unexpected empathy, acknowledging how painful it must be. Suddenly, he covers his face and lets out a loud sob. Akira stares at him, her expression shifting to pure annoyance as she demands to know why on earth he's the one crying. Through his tears, he explains that everything is going exactly according to the plot, and hearing his favorite characters say those lines in person is just too emotional. Akira offers him a handkerchief, wondering why she ever confided in him. She extends the handkerchief in the hallway. He looks up, stunned, asking if she's sure. She simply replies that she doesn't mind. Akira offers a gentle, reassuring smile. Flustered, he promises to wash and return it, but she just chuckles and tells him not to worry, noting his behavior is quite unusual. His mind shifts back to the game's logic. He knows Ogasawara is a saint who can't ignore someone in trouble. This meta-knowledge solidifies his choice. He has to save her. He tells Akira her situation is painful precisely because Ogasawara is such a good person. Then, he bluntly points out her awkwardness around other girls, making a direct approach nearly impossible. Akira looks down, weighing his words. She admits he's right about Ogasawara, but then realizes Yudo has been observing her incredibly closely. She looks up, stunned by her own realization, and gasps. He meets her gaze with a confident, knowing smile, confirming that of course he's been watching. His internal monologue continues, strategically assessing the situation. From her current standing, he knows it'll be nearly impossible to make the protagonist fall for her. A list of strategies appears in his mind. He dismisses the skimpy uniform and the lunchbox plan, since she's a disaster in the kitchen. That leaves only one option, the Ice Queen strategy to grab Shun's attention through cold behavior. Akira is confused, stating she already treats Ogasawara coldly. Panic surges through him as he realizes his miscalculation, but before he can react, Akira screams for him to look behind him. Whipping around, he sees the hooded figure lunging. A terrible premonition grips him just as a sharp, agonizing pain erupts through his body. The world slowly fades back into focus. He finds himself in bed, a dull ache radiating from his side. He clutches the wound, wondering why he had to get stabbed yet again. His phone screen confirms his worst nightmare. His life force has plummeted to 50, a devastating 20-point drop, double what he anticipated. The looming threat of death sends a shiver down his spine, but he clenches his fist with iron resolve. He refuses to fail again as the world rewinds once more. Back at the moment of decision, he discards his previous failure. He pivots to the second option, the domestic lunchbox strategy. With newfound confidence, he declares that the path to a man's heart is through his stomach, betting on Akira's domestic charm to win Shun over. However, Akira is skeptical. She admits her cooking skills are non-existent and fears Shun will just mock her efforts. Yudo brushes her worries aside, insisting that perfection is irrelevant. It's the raw effort that counts, but the peace is short-lived. The hooded assailant strikes again, screaming curses at their youth as he lunges with his weapon raised. Reacting instantly, Yudo shouts a warning and shoves Akira out of the line of fire. He takes the brutal impact head-on. Blood sprays from his mouth as the blade finds its mark. As he hits the ground, Akira's horrified screams fill the air, while Yudo's fading mind wonders how school security could fail so miserably. Time resets yet again. The menu flickers back into existence, mocking his 2 failed attempts. It's clear now. There's only one path left, the skimpy uniform plan. A manic intensity burns in his eyes as he explains the final gambit. She must weaponize her feminine charms by making her uniform far more revealing. With his life force drained to a critical 30, his voice drips with desperation. Akira is stunned, arguing that her position on the disciplinary committee forbids such a look, but Yudo notices her reaction is far more visceral this time. He leans in, his gaze sharp with absolute focus and conviction. To him, the plan's unorthodox nature is exactly why it will be perfect. His strategy hinges on the gap effect, the shock of a strict disciplinary member embracing a rebellious style. Akira questions his sanity, but he confidently explains that this stark contrast is the key to capturing Shun's heart. Taking the bait, a blushing Akira wonders if she should ditch her tights entirely. Yudo is momentarily stunned by her hidden allure, realizing this difficult girl possesses immense untapped potential. The gamble pays off instantly. His device shows Akira's affection level has surged to 45. He knows he must maintain this upward momentum at all costs. Later in the hallway, Akira meets with Shun Ogasora. She thanks him for his earlier advice and promises to give it her all, earning a supportive wish of luck from him. The next day arrives, and as the students gather, Yudo spots Akira. His voice cracks with genuine shock at what he sees. She has undergone a total transformation. Her uniform is now styled with a casual, provocative edge. As she shyly asks Shun for his thoughts, the surrounding students erupt into whispers about her beauty. Before Shun can even process it, his friends drag him away. Seizing the moment, Yuto throws an arm around a flustered Shun, casually asking if the new style suits her. Caught off guard, Shun admits she looks incredible. Overhearing the praise, Akira looks satisfied. She claims she has student council business and makes her exit, while Yudo flashes a subtle thumbs up, celebrating the result. But once she's alone, her confidence vanishes. Something feels wrong. Shun's praise should have made her ecstatic, yet she feels nothing. Instead, her mind keeps drifting back to Yudo. On a desolate sidewalk, a single abandoned shoe sits, a silent omen of a sudden disappearance. That chilling absence follows Yudo into the classroom. As homeroom begins, his eyes lock onto a haunting sight. Akira's desk is completely empty. His dread is confirmed as a system prompt flashes before him. His life points are at a lethal 30. He realizes the stakes instantly. Something has gone horribly wrong, and he can no longer afford a single mistake. Yuto acts instantly. He excuses himself from class, his expression turning cold as he slips into the hallway. He knew this event was coming. Someone was waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He sprints toward the gym storage. Inside, Akira is trapped by a hooded creep. The coward tries to blame her, claiming her outfit was an invitation for his advances. But Akira doesn't flinch, firing back and demanding he start making sense. The assailant snaps, pinning her against the wall and doubling down on his pathetic excuses. As he looms over her, Akira's mind wanders. She didn't dress up for some random creep. She only wanted to look beautiful for the person she truly loves. Suddenly, the door explodes open. Yuto stands there, fuming, as he demands the trash take his hands off Akira. He points a finger, declaring that heroines belong with the protagonist. The hooded attacker reels back in shock, cursing Yuto for the interference. A choice appears before him, and he chooses violence. As a hardcore fan of the original game, there's no way he's letting this trashy event play out. With a roar, he lunges forward, burying his fist deep into the assailant's jaw. Once the dust settles, he rushes to Akira's side. She's safe, but her voice trembles as she blames herself for the entire ordeal. Yuto immediately shuts that down, insisting she did nothing wrong. As he turns to leave, Akira watches him, her heart swirling with newfound confusion. In that moment, it finally clicks. The joy she felt earlier wasn't because of Ogasawara's praise. Her heart belongs to the man who just saved her. It was always Yuto. Back in his room, Yuto stares at his phone in total shock. A notification flashes across the screen. Akira Tomasada's affection level has hit a perfect 100. He realizes with a start that this means he's officially conquered her. This sudden shift stems from their intense encounter. Akira realized Yuto had been her savior time and time again. Blushing deeply, she finally admitted the truth. She's completely fallen for him. Her confession bridges the gap between them, their faces inches apart. Yuto realizes this is a massive deviation, a development that never existed in the original game. As she closes her eyes with a heavy blush, he knows the truth. The conquest is complete. But in the present, that memory only brings frustration. He kicks his blankets aside, screaming into the void, demanding to know why the story is spiraling out of control. He calms down just enough to check his phone, noticing his life points are fully restored. He curses his luck, realizing he was just one step away from a kiss before the system reset. The full HP bar offers zero comfort, only fueling his panic. He wonders if he's trapped in this loop forever. A terrifying thought emerges. Does he have to redo every single event from scratch? The next morning, the fallout begins. Shun watches Akira, expecting her affection level to be in the negatives. Instead, she greets Yuto with a warm, gentle expression, treating him like her hero. Her greeting is paired with a radiant, dazzling smile that lights up the entire hallway. That smile is the ultimate proof of the message burned into Yuto's screen. Akira Tomasada, conquest complete. Suddenly, Akira snaps out of her trance, looking confused. The memory of her confession is already fading as the world adjusts. She turns to Yuto, her expression softening as she thanks him for his help and his concern for Ogasawara. But Yuto barely hears her. He offers a casual, "Good morning," his mind racing as he realizes a fundamental rule of this world. Whenever a heroine is conquered, a loop occurs, and every relationship is rewritten. The world has reset. Akira smiles brightly, completely unaware of the shift. Yuto knows the only way out is to make every heroine fall for the true protagonist. This is his mission, and he'll repeat these loops as many times as it takes. He endured the agony of death over and over. Glancing at his phone, he sees his name, Kanji Aku, with a full life bar. But this perfect score isn't a victory. It's a total catastrophe. Our protagonist, Yuto Hatano, is trapped in a bizarre fate after waking up inside his favorite dating sim, After School Flares, reincarnated as the game's pathetic villain, Kanji Aku. He quickly learns the only way out is to successfully conquer every single heroine. It's a brutal, grueling process. Leveraging his hardcore game knowledge and risking his life countless times, he finally manages to win over the first heroine, Akira Tomasada. In the school hallway, Akira greets him with a warm smile, but something is off. Even though a system notification confirms her affection is maxed out and she's officially conquered, the interaction feels hollow. He tries to tease her about her formerly provocative style, but Akira is genuinely shocked. She vehemently denies ever dressing that way, leaving him completely baffled. Panic sets in as he grabs her shoulders, desperate to know if she remembers her confession. She looks at him like he's a total stranger, and the crushing truth finally sinks in. She has no memory of their romance. It's a devastating realization. Every hard-won memory and successful route is completely wiped the moment he clears a heroine. Akira treats him normally now, but the emotional reward he bled for is gone. He screams in pure frustration, mourning the loss of the romance he worked so hard to earn. But his pity party is cut short by a brutal, bone-shattering kick from behind. The assailant is the ice-cold Elena Hiroi, who threatens to bury him alive just for standing in her way. A quick scan of her stats reveals a terrifying -50 affection level and a personality description that labels her as grumpy and dumb. Checking his own status, he notices his power has surged since conquering Akira. It's just like the game. Each conquered heroine grants him a massive rank up, making him physically stronger. As Elena storms off, calling him bulky trash, he begins to formulate a new plan. Her low technique stat suggests that despite her hostility, he might actually have a chance to break through her defenses. Noticing Elena is currently away from the game's protagonist, Shun Ogasawara, he decides it's the perfect time for a villain to strike. Elena Hiroi is officially his next target. The chance arrives during an outdoor class where students are pairing up. Elena sits alone, radiating an aura of isolation that keeps everyone else at a distance. This is his moment. With a confident smirk, he prepares to dive headfirst into the Elena route, certain he can charm his way into her good graces. As he approaches, a set of dialogue options pops up. He ignores the safer choices and gambles on the most arrogant, villainous greeting available, thinking it's the key to her heart. Her reaction is pure venom as she demands he burn away like garbage. Panic strikes him instantly. He realizes he might have just triggered another game-over scenario. His fears are confirmed when a massive bodyguard in a dark suit grabs his shoulder. Following Elena's orders, the man prepares to eliminate the insolent student. Before he can even react, the bodyguard launches him into the stratosphere. Elena watches him fly through the air with a cold, unchanging expression of boredom. Suddenly, he jolts awake in his bed, screaming at the top of his lungs. He's alive, but the nightmare is real. Every time he makes the wrong choice and dies, he's forced to restart the loop. He rubs his head in pure frustration, unable to believe he was murdered for a simple dialogue error. This world is lawless, and one wrong word means a one-way ticket to the afterlife. He wonders if this brutal treatment is simply the price of inhabiting the role of a villain. As the skip icon flickers, he steels his resolve, ready to dive back into the fray. He analyzes the situation, realizing the man in black is Elena's bodyguard, a lethal shadow hired by her overprotective father. Despite the overkill, the dialogue wheel resets, granting him a desperate second chance. He scans the options with laser focus, refusing to waste another life. With the first choice debunked, he must now deduce the winning path from the remaining three. His eyes lock onto the fourth option, a simple greeting, and its sheer simplicity intrigues him. Sweat beads on his temple as he decides to roll the dice one more time. He approaches with a friendly word, but Elena sneers, claiming his very voice makes her ears rot. As dread sinks in, the bodyguard levels his pistol again, and Yuto panics at the lethal cost of another mistake. A shot echoes through the air. As he collapses, Yuto flashes a defiant thumbs up, telling Elena not to worry while she screams his name in pure shock. He wakes up in bed once more, his skull throbbing from the phantom sound of his own demise. A status screen reveals his life points have plummeted to 80, leaving him fuming at these unfair traps and relentless choices. He recalls everything he knows about Elena, a textbook tsundere whose icy exterior hides a heart of gold. He knows her eventual charm is legendary, but more importantly, He remembers her fractured relationship with her father. This memory of her family drama sparks a brilliant idea. Seeing his opening, he ignores the safe routes and slams his finger onto the second choice. Lend me some money. He executes the plan, extending a hand and bluntly demanding cash from the heiress. Elena is stunned into silence before exploding in rage, asking if a lowlife like him even understands the value of currency. He maintains a smug grin, pointing out that she's rich enough to spare it. He scans the area, shocked that he hasn't been shot yet, wondering if this insane gamble actually worked while Elena tells him to drop dead. He stands there baffled. He expected this bold move to pave the way for a conquest, but Elena remains as cold and unapproachable as the game scripts. He can't even hold a basic conversation, leaving him desperate for a new strategy. His mind races for a solution until he recalls a pivotal event from the original storyline. Suddenly, a baseball rolls to Elena's feet as a student calls out, thanking her for the catch. The student approaches with a flurry of apologies, explaining she's too overwhelmed to attend the upcoming party. Elena's gaze stays frozen as she delivers a sharp, dismissive response, calling the absence a shame. Witnessing the exchange, a light bulb goes off. The home party is the ultimate key, the flag needed to trigger Elena's route. He realizes he has to seize the moment and take control of the situation. He springs into action, cheerfully asking Elena if he can join the party and even offering to bring Ogasawara along. Elena recoils in disgust, screaming that his presence would literally make the plants in her house wither and die, but her explosive anger can't hide the truth. A deep blush stains her cheeks as she stammers, demanding to know why he'd mention Ogasawara. He smirks, noting that her emotional defense is basically non-existent. He pushes his advantage, weaponizing his knowledge of the game's plot. He knows Elena has been crushing on Ogasawara ever since he saved her at the school gates. He stares her down, asking if she's sent the invitation yet, leaving her paralyzed with shock. He tilts his head, a confident, predatory smile spreading across his face. "You see," he says calmly, "I know everything about you." Her mind spins as the blush deepens, the weight of his words sinking in. She realizes with horror that this is playing out exactly like the game she knows. She attempts a weak defense, claiming she only withheld the invitation because she assumed Ogasawara was busy. Yudo immediately sees through the lie, calling her out on the spot. He explains that her own self-consciousness triggered her prickly defense mode, preventing her from being honest. He watches as Elena Hiroi reluctantly concedes, telling him to suit himself if he's so obsessed with bringing Shun. Internally, Yudo smirks. He knows she's actually overjoyed, finding her clumsy attempt to hide her happiness incredibly cute. With her reluctant agreement secured, Yudo moves on to his next target, Shun Ogasawara. He corners him by the lockers in classroom 2A. Startled, Shun looks up from his book the moment Yudo calls his name. Yudo casually throws an arm around Shun's shoulders, announcing that a party is happening at Hirozumi's house next weekend, and Shun's attendance is mandatory. Caught off guard by the sudden invite, Shun tries to stammer an excuse about other plans, but he quickly relents and agrees to go. As Yudo confirms the plans, Shun sighs to himself, lamenting that he can't even have a private internal monologue. Yudo recalls his game knowledge, wondering what a top-tier heroine like Elena could possibly see in Ogasawara. He notes that Shun's stats are still at pathetic early game levels, far below his own. Yet this is the man who needs to be conquered. The day of the party finally arrives. Stepping into a grand, chandelier-lit hall crawling with elite guests, Shun can only let out a gasp of pure awe. Yudo, standing coolly beside him, agrees that the display is impressive. His eyes sweep the room until he spots Akira Tomasada, noting that she received an invitation as well. Shun is instantly captivated, mesmerized by how stunning Akira looks in a dress. Yudo, meanwhile, muses that while Ogasawara is the guest of honor, he was only invited as part of the general crowd. Just then, the hostess herself makes an entrance. Elena Hiroi, draped in a breathtaking dress, waves and welcomes them. The entire room is struck speechless by her sheer elegance. Yudo, on the other hand, is completely overcome with emotion. With tears streaming down his face, he realizes her beauty is on a totally different level compared to the game. He also notes that her affection level toward Ogasawara seems to have ticked up slightly. He approaches Elena, playfully demanding to know why she's ignoring him. He points out that she never even sent him an invitation, calling it a display of bad taste and the start of bullying. Unfazed, Elena tells Ogasawara and Tomasada to enjoy themselves and walks away with them, leaving Yudo to sarcastically thank her before he dives into the buffet. She walks away, wishing he would just disappear. To her, the party feels filthy just by catering to someone like him. As Yudo laments her cold treatment, a stern voice cuts through the air, demanding to know how long Elena intends to linger. Her father has arrived. She turns and answers him obediently while Yudo, Shun, and Akira watch the tension unfold. As she stands by, her father raises a glass of wine toward a young man in a bow tie, offering a formal toast. Watching the interaction, Akira Tomasada voices the very question weighing on Yudo's mind. Could that man truly be Hirazumi's fiancé? Yudo confirms it's likely, his own reflection staring back from his drink as he decides to recount Elena's tragic backstory from the game. He recalls that the Hirazumi family was once desperately poor, a hardship that took a devastating toll on Elena's mother. His memory drifts to a scene of a much younger Elena, her face glowing with joy as her mother calls out that dinner is finally ready. Due to her father's failing business, they were forced into a life of poverty, but the young girl cherished those simple, precious moments the three of them shared around the dinner table. To escape their suffering, her father buried himself in constant work, leaving the household entirely to his wife. Elena's mother, who possessed a frail constitution, eventually succumbed to the stress and passed away at a young age while her husband was away. The father was consumed by a mountain of regret, believing his poverty had directly caused his wife's death. He worked tirelessly until his business exploded into fame and wealth. Elena, however, grew to despise him, believing he cared only for his career and had abandoned her mother in her final moments. Driven by a desperate desire to ensure his daughter would never suffer again, he began using his success to bring wealthy, upper-class men to his home, obsessed with arranging a secure future for her. This, however, only fueled his daughter's rebellion. Yudo recalls a pivotal moment from the game's narrative. Elena, weeping, declares she is sick of his games, crying out that her mother's final wish was for her to find happiness with someone she truly loves. Back in the present, Yudo finally grasps the source of their friction. When Shun notes his deep knowledge of the Hiruzumi family, Yudo simply offers a wry smile, claiming he's just played the game countless times. He watches as Shun Ogasawara steps into his destined role, standing as a shield for the distraught Elena. With fire in his eyes, Shun fiercely declares that he will never let her go. While Yua Minamoto blames Elena's coldness for the conflict, Yudo considers the father's perspective. The man might be unhinged, but he likely thinks he's protecting his daughter from the endless string of boys she brings home. Later at the buffet, Shun's eyes lock onto Elena as she slips back into the room. He watches her walk away, his face etched with worry as he wonders aloud if she's truly okay. As Shun moves to follow, Yudo's hand clamps onto his shoulder. He warns Shun to back off, knowing Elena is in a foul mood and will only lash out, forcing Shun to reluctantly stand down. While sampling the food, Yudo calculates his next move. He knows that if Shun approaches her now, she'll definitely ignore him, which would completely derail Yudo's own plans to win her heart. His train of thought is broken when Akira Tomasada gently offers him a napkin. He's stunned by the small gesture, touched that she actually remembers him after all this time. Once the suffocating party finally ends, the trio makes their exit from the Grand Hiruzumi estate together. On the walk back, Yudo weighs his standing against Shun's. To Elena, Shun is the dream crush, while Yudo is just a nasty acquaintance. He realizes he can't even hold a conversation with her without mentioning his rival. A new strategy begins to take shape. Knowing Elena's life is a gilded cage, Yudo decides to use Shun as bait, to lure her into a post-school detour she's never experienced before. He envisions the ultimate payoff, a massive spike in affection points, and a real chance to flirt. The prospect of success feels almost too perfect to be real. With a cheerful wave, he suggests a group hangout. He brushes off Elena's inevitable insults, viewing her snark as a rewarding form of coy affection, as he finalizes the plan for the group outing. She scoffs and calls him an idiot, claiming she's far too busy. Yet she still agrees to meet at the station at 10 a.m. Yudo celebrates internally, knowing her busy schedule is just a front. Despite agreeing, Elena fumes over the commoner itinerary. She looks at the plans for game centers, ramen, and karaoke with pure disdain, insulted that he'd think she'd enjoy such low-brow activities. But as she walks through the city, the truth hits her. This is the first time anyone has ever asked her to just hang out. Her entire life has been a rigid schedule dictated by her father. The next morning, Elena arrives 5 minutes early, masking her excitement with a claim of boredom. Yudo sees right through the act as her eyes widen in wonder at the bustling shopping district. He leans in, teasingly asking if this is her first time in the real world. She denies it with a flush of red, but her rising affection level tells Yudo all he needs to know. Their destination is a massive game center, packed to the brim with flashing lights and crane machines overflowing with prizes. Yudo skillfully snags a massive teddy bear and hands it to Elena. Deeply flustered, she accepts the gift with a quiet thanks, even while mumbling that she never wanted it in the first place. After their successful haul, the group grabs a bite to eat. Elena excitedly shows off her new treasures while the others agree that this inexpensive food is actually delicious. Yuto finds himself buried under a mountain of shopping bags. Elena acts flustered and demands he hand them over, but he just flashes a confident grin, slings another bag over his shoulder, and leads the way. As evening falls, a sleek black car pulls up to the curb. Elena bids farewell to Yuto, Akira, and Shun before disappearing into the night. Suddenly, a status update flickers into Yuto's vision. Elena Hirazumi's affection level has officially climbed to 40. Back at school the next day, he analyzes the data. Elena's feelings are rising steadily, proving his master plan to win her heart is finally in motion. Near the school entrance, Elena and Shun Ogasawara exchange a friendly morning greeting. Watching from a distance, Yuto smiles to himself. He knows their bond is growing, and he decides it's time to make his next big move, but he realizes Elena beat him to the punch. She's already making moves on Shun, and Yuto wonders aloud if the two are planning a secret weekend getaway. Later in class, Yuto corners Elena at her desk to ask about her weekend plans. She gets defensive immediately, denying everything, while Yuto and Akira realize her dishonesty is actually one of her most charming traits. He suggests a karaoke session. Elena accepts with a dramatic flair, demanding he prepare to weep at her angelic voice, though Yuto kills the mood by teasing her about being tone-deaf. Her presence triggers a new interface in his mind. Seeing her affection level, he decides a direct offensive is the only way, and he locks his sights on the solo date option. He's never seen an effect like this before. A strange warping sensation fills the air as his finger taps the high-stakes choice. His invitation for a solo date is met with a loud, immediate rejection. She claims she'd never go with him, yet the chemistry between them says otherwise, confirming he made the right call. That night, despite her protests, she confirms the plans. Tucking herself into bed, she makes up excuses, telling herself she's only going because he'll be bored without her. Her cheeks flush as she wonders why it has to be him. She wishes Ogasawara had asked, but she can't deny that Yuto is the only one she can truly be herself around. At the karaoke parlor, she starts off cold, threatening to end him if he tries anything funny. Moments later, she's singing like a pop idol, while Yuto goes wild with a tambourine, calling her the cutest girl on earth. She bursts into laughter at his ridiculous energy. After the session, her affection level hits a massive 60, but the mood is ruined when a man in a suit tells Yuto to get lost. Yuto ignores the threat entirely, turning back to Elena with a smile. He asks if their fun is over, and she snaps back with classic tsundere energy, asking if he's gone deaf. The tension breaks when a man in sunglasses steps forward, ordering Elena to leave immediately. Yuto glares at the man, recognizing him as one of her unhinged security guards. Without hesitating, Yuto grabs her hand and shouts for them to run. He pulls her through the neon-lit streets, claiming his past experience is guiding him, leaving Elena completely bewildered. Having lost his target, the bodyguard stands alone in the park, reporting the failure into his earpiece. He confirms Elena has escaped, and mentions a mysterious boy who wasn't in the files. As the man retreats, Yudo and Elena emerge from the shadows. He exhales a breath of relief, thankful their pursuer is finally gone, and Elena silently concurs. He mocks the bodyguard's overbearing nature, wondering if these security types are just like game villains trying to steal the heroine. Elena, however, quickly shuts down that theory. She reveals the cold truth. Her father is forcing her into an arranged marriage with a powerful family just to cement his own political standing. Faced with her heartbreaking confession, a familiar set of dialogue choices flashes in Yudo's mind. He has to decide: send her home, show compassion, embrace her, or keep the party going. As he weighs his options, a system tip aggressively demands he choose the third option: hug her. His finger wavers. It's a bold move, and he feels a surge of hesitation. Despite the gut feeling, he pulls Elena into a sudden embrace, but the moment is shattered when the bodyguard reappears with his weapon drawn. Yudo panics, desperately trying to de-escalate the situation. A gunshot thunders through the night, obliterating the park bench. The impact sends Yudo crashing to the ground, motionless, as Elena screams his name in pure terror. Suddenly, he bolts upright in bed. The park and the gunman are gone. He realizes with a jolt that his choice was a fatal gamble, berating himself for following that disastrous third option. He checks his status screen, seeing his name, Kanji Aku, and a life bar sitting at a precarious 50%. A chilling thought hits him. What happens if that bar hits 0? And where do these mysterious tips even come from? He's thrust back to the same critical crossroad. Failing once was a mistake, but failing twice would be a death sentence. He weighs the harshness of sending her home against the safety of showing compassion. He remembers her genuine smile and her desperate wish to keep the night alive. If she's serious about this, he has to truly consider her feelings. With his mind made up, he locks in the fourth option. He tells Elena to forget her routine and keep moving, acknowledging that while the security police are coming, they still have time to enjoy themselves. He accepts the looming danger, knowing the authorities won't be merciful. He warns Elena that she'll be in hot water too if they're caught, then asks her what she truly desires. He pushes her to break the chains of her curfew and escape the suffocating control of her life. He declares this is their one shot at freedom, urging her to follow her heart. Elena stands tall, a newfound fire in her eyes. She warns him not to complain if things get messy, just as Yudo firmly takes her hand in a reassuring grip. Their daring escape is a total success. They celebrate with a high five, spending the night exploring the city as Elena experiences the simple joys of crepes and dipping noodles for the first time. As 9 p.m. approaches, Elena admits the night must end. She confesses that their time together felt far too brief, and when asked if she feels better, she's left in a state of uncertainty. He's satisfied with the result, telling her to cook up a solid alibi. As he says goodbye, a system notification pings. Elena's affection has skyrocketed to 80, but the moment she returns home, a man in a suit intercepts her. Her father is waiting. Despite her protests, she's dragged down a dark, unfamiliar hallway toward a room she's never seen, her heart racing with dread. She finds herself trapped in a decaying, debris-strewn room filled with broken mannequins and discarded knives. Shaken and bewildered, she sits on the floor, wondering how her night turned into this nightmare. Her confusion is shattered by a voice calling her name. Elena, beads of sweat rolling down her face and eyes wide with terror, stammers out a trembling reply. The voice belongs to her father. He looms over her with a sinister grin, clutching a riding crop. "I've been waiting for you," he sneers, addressing his beloved daughter. Meanwhile, at school, an announcement claims Elena Hiroi is absent due to a cold. Sitting beside Sean, Yuto's suspicion immediately flares. Recalling the choices from the Akira incident, he wonders if she's truly sick, or if something far more sinister is unfolding. To him, a sudden absence is a massive red flag. He quickly bets on the worst-case scenario. Something has happened to her. He asks the teacher for a bathroom break, receiving a stern reminder to handle his business before class next time. Once in the hallway, he checks his phone. Every message to Elena remains unread, and every call goes unanswered. Horror dawns on him. This isn't the Elena route he remembers. His meddling as a villain has derailed the story completely, leaving him with only one choice: infiltrate her home. He arrives at the Hiroi estate, but the main entrance is too risky. Spotting a side route along the terrace, he decides to slip inside unnoticed. He sneaks in, finding himself in an unfamiliar area at the top of a staircase. This wing of the mansion didn't even exist in the game. He knows security will find him eventually, making his search for Elena a race against time. Standing at the top of the dark staircase, a sharp, sudden cry echoes from below. He can sense that the source of the nightmare is just ahead. Voices drift up from the basement. A man demands her obedience, but Elena's voice rings out in defiance, vowing never to forgive him if he harms the person she loves. Listening from the shadows, Yuto is stunned. This event never happened in the original story. He stands before the closed door, his heart hammering against his ribs with a terrible certainty. Elena is right behind it. He throws the door open to a horrifying sight. Elena, suspended from the ceiling by heavy chains. She looks up in utter shock, wondering why he's there, while he can only scream her name in a state of pure shock. He rushes toward her, but she cries out for him to look away, even threatening to kill him if he keeps staring. Ignoring her pleas, his eyes lock onto her injuries as he desperately asks if she's okay. His mind races with a frantic realization. He screams internally that this horrific torture was never part of the original games Elena wrote. The scene of her captivity shifts into a memory of his confrontation with her father. The older man, sipping wine with chilling calm, demands to know his identity. Standing his ground, Yuto introduces himself as Kanji Aku, Elena's friend, and throws the question right back at him. His defiance erupts into righteous fury. He declares that this was supposed to be Elena's root, a story of reconciliation between a father and daughter. He spits out his disgust, refusing to be moved by such a twisted, sick display of fatherly love. The older man remains unfazed, dismissing the outburst as nonsense. Undeterred, Yuto presses on, demanding to know if the man has ever once told Elena he loved her, blaming his toxic personality for her cynical nature. His words earn a chilling retort. The father counters that since he's never done anything decent, perhaps it's time for a change. A memory of a young Elena clutching a teddy bear flashes by, immediately followed by the image of her father's shoe crushing the toy into the dirt. Back in the present, her father warns him not to do something he'll regret. Ignoring the threat, Yuto lunges forward with a key, promising to save her. As he unlocks the shackles, a monstrous, shadowy creature erupts from his back and strikes at her father. Elena, now free but trembling, can only stare in horror. The man strikes back with brutal force, hitting Yuto squarely in the back. Yuto grits his teeth, knowing the pain is nothing compared to what Elena endured. As her father raises his hand again, Elena tearfully begs him to stop, pleading for her friend's life. The man sneers, mocking how easily his daughter was manipulated by Kanji Aku. Despite the crushing blow, Yuto rises to his feet and calmly straightens his tie. He looks down at the man and asks why he can only communicate through violence, demanding he face his daughter like a man. He condemns the father's obsession with surveillance, calling him sick and delusional. He roars that such actions are not how a father protects his daughter. Enraged, Elena's father snaps back, questioning how a mere boy dares to lecture him on the duties of a parent. Internally, a set of game choices appear before him. They are all identical. Discipline him. With his decision made, he declares that if the father was never raised right, he will be the one to provide the discipline. He lunges forward, his fist connecting with the man's jaw in a brutal, resounding blow. Elena can only watch, her eyes wide with absolute shock. Standing over the defeated man, he coldly states that hurting one's daughter is not discipline. He warns that if the man truly cherishes her, he should express it with words instead of violence. Later that night by the canal, Elena urges him not to be so reckless again, admitting she was terrified he might have died. When she asks how he found her, he simply attributes it to his game intuition. Since his house is in chaos, he acknowledges they will be separated for a while. Elena reveals her plan to move abroad and live with her kind aunt, seeking a fresh start away from the drama. His words to her father echo in her mind, and a deep blush creeps across her face at the memory of him defending her. Looking at him, she confesses that her opinion of him has completely changed. She realizes that despite the danger, he always ensured her safety. In that moment, her affection level hits a perfect 100. She stammers, blushing deeply as she struggles to find the right words to articulate her growing feelings for him. Before she can finish, Yuto shouts his love from the balcony. Stunned by his directness, Elena is overcome with emotion, and shyly asks him to be gentle for her first time. Suddenly, the dream shatters. Yuto wakes up in his bed, clutching his pillow and cursing the timing of his alarm for stealing his kiss. He cries out in despair for his dear Elena. Later that morning, Shun walks to school, dreading the encounter with Elena. He spots her getting out of a car and greets her, but he is met with a piercing, cold stare from a young man inside. Elena confirms her father drove her, noting that thanks to Shun, they've finally reconciled. She then coldly dismisses him, leaving Shun confused as to why he even bothered. He shifts his focus back to the goal. The second heroine is officially conquered. He resolves that if it ensures her happiness, he is willing to die for her as many times as it takes. He realizes the original plot is shifting. By conquering the heroine as the villain instead of the intended hero, he has completely rewritten the story's trajectory. Walking through the city, Shun spots Elena's father's car. He muses that while the names and locations match the game, the people in this world are undeniably real. Suddenly, Elena approaches Kanji, calling him a dead fish, but offering him a ride anyway. He checks his phone, which confirms the impossible. Affection level 100. Conquered. He accepts the ride, realizing she doesn't remember the conquest, only a vague sense of debt. He reflects that while his villain role is a burden, they have undeniably grown closer. His mind wanders to the normal life he could have had, attending classes, chatting with friends, and enjoying the simple peace of a regular school day. This thought solidifies his resolve as his eyes narrow with sharp determination. He refuses to die and has no choice but to forge ahead. Back at school, Shun's life seems to have fully recovered. As Yua Minamoto tends to a scrape on his knee, Kanji Aku checks his own status, now fully restored. It's time to begin his next conquest, and his target is Yua Minamoto, the protagonist's childhood friend and a supposedly easy route. However, he quickly reconsiders. In the real world, good girls don't fall in love so easily. If she proves too difficult, he decides to pivot to Mikamo Hawaii, the school's prim and proper #1 beauty whose iron will has earned her a massive following. His attention shifts to Shun and Mikamo as they discuss their duties. He notes how most boys get nervous around her, but Kanji is confident his high status will prevent him from being ignored. He decides to conquer Mikamo first, despite his phone revealing her starting affection level is a chilling -7. Later in the classroom, he spots her and approaches with a friendly wave. He tries to greet her, but she is instantly startled, jumping to her feet and stammering that she needs to flee to the teacher's room. He reaches out, calling for her to wait and quickly apologizing for the scare. He insists he just wants to get to know her better, but Mikamo is overwhelmed. She repeatedly whispers apologies and flees down the hall, leaving him standing alone. He observes her up close, taking in her damp eyes, fair skin, and the deep blush on her cheeks. He has to admit, she is incredibly cute in person. Still flustered, Mikamo questions why he would ever want to get to know someone like her. In response, a set of dialogue choices appears before him. He reasons that a direct confession would likely scare her off, while being just classmates is far too safe. By process of elimination, he concludes that calling her cute is the winning move, and selects the third option. He delivers his chosen line, "Because you're cute." Mikamo is taken aback, stammering that there are plenty of other cute girls. He internally notes that this was the correct choice, but his satisfaction is short-lived when Shun Ogasawara appears, causing Mikamo's affection level to plummet to -8. Their conversation is abruptly cut short when a group of girls aggressively bump into Mikamo. One of them snarls at her to watch where she's going, while another sarcastically mocks her for seeking attention from popular boys like Ogasawara. Kanji watches the confrontation unfold, realizing these girls are bullying Mikamo out of pure jealousy. He deduces this is why she's been avoiding him. She fears he's associated with her tormentors. The girls continue their taunts, mocking her as a princess otaku. Refusing to stand by, he steps forward and shouts at the bullies, declaring that they bumped into her on purpose. He pointedly demands they apologize to Hawaii, drawing the attention of every student in the hallway. His sudden defense leaves Mikamo stunned. She turns toward him, softly whispering his name, Aku, followed by a quiet, sincere thank you. Feeling a sense of progress, he wonders what to do next. Before he can act, other classmates swarm Mikamo, inviting her to cafes, the cinema, and even rock climbing. She politely but firmly rejects every single offer, showing zero interest. As he contemplates his next move, Akira Tomasada approaches with perfect timing. She explains that the discipline committee gave her 2 boxing tickets and offers them to him. He accepts with thanks, a new plan forming as he recalls that Mikamo's secret hobby is watching martial arts. This information is exactly what he needs. Checking his device, he sees Mikamo's affection level has risen to -5. Armed with the tickets and a strategy focused on her interests, he approaches her desk and asks if she'll join him at the upcoming match. He is left speechless when Mikamo Hawaii joyfully accepts the invitation, only to reveal that Shun Ogasawara already invited her to the same match. His plan to make progress with her alone has been completely upended. She then beams, clasping her hands together with an idea. She suggests that if he likes martial arts too, all 3 of them should go together, certain it would be more fun that way. When Kanji reports this development to Shun, he is met with casual acceptance, as Shun simply wants whatever Hawaii wants. Their conversation is interrupted by Elena Hiroi, who reveals the match is sponsored by her father's company. Seeing his plans further complicated, Kanji resigns himself to the situation. On the day of the event, Mikamo arrives at the dome to greet the 2 boys. Dressed in casual clothes, her proper yet cute appearance captivates Kanji. She holds up a handful of tickets, announcing she bought them for everyone so they can all enjoy the match together. A vital realization strikes him. Winning Mikamo over requires fostering her mental fortitude and raw guts. She has always lacked the courage to take that first step. While her time with Shun sparked some change, her true admiration for martial arts comes from the burning passion of the fighters, a fire she feels is missing in herself. Inside the arena, that passion is electrifying. Mikamo gasps in awe at the realism of the ring, while Shun quietly agrees and Kanji keeps a watchful eye. Kanji smirks, spotting a massive deviation from the original story. This event was supposed to draw Shun into martial arts, but now a clear rift in enthusiasm exists between him and Mikamo, a weakness Kanji is ready to exploit. Suddenly, the empty seat beside him is filled. Elena Hiroi arrives with a cheerful greeting, revealing she went out of her way to secure their tickets. When Mikamo asks if she's a fan, Elena nervously claims she's just there to see what the hype is about. The match kicks off, and Mikamo erupts, screaming encouragement for a fighter named Takahito. As Shun's expression twists in pain, Kanji sees a new set of choices manifest. Cheer with her, make her stop, or explain the situation to Elena. He weighs his options. Every instinct screams to join the cheers, but he feels a wave of pure animosity radiating from behind him. It's Shun, his face contorted with a deep-seated hatred for Takahito. That tension explodes into pure chaos. A furious spectator lunges to his feet, brandishing a folding chair and screaming for silence. Kanji reacts instantly, throwing himself in front of Mikamo to shield her as Elena watches in horror. Everything goes black. He awakens with a gasp in his own bed, completely unharmed. The memory hits him like a freight train. He was struck down while protecting Mikamo. The impossible truth dawns on him. He died and was somehow revived. Now he understands the stakes. Certain choices lead to a brutal game over. Cheering alongside her was a fatal error. Faced with the same choice again, he knows that making her stop is the only way to survive. The moment resets. Mikamo is back on her feet, cheering for the fighter. This time, Kanji acts with cold foresight, calmly asking her to sit so the people behind them can see. She immediately apologizes and takes her seat. The angry spectator settles down, and the lethal tension vanishes. Kanji exhales, knowing he's successfully averted a disaster. After the match, the group strolls through the evening streets. Mikamo is still buzzing, gushing over how cool Takahito was. Shun agrees, noting his intense presence, while Elena seizes the moment to ask if that's the kind of man Mikamo likes. She confirms it enthusiastically, listing off his strength and unbreakable spirit, everything she feels she lacks. Elena listens, bemused, wondering if this kind of passionate rambling is just a nerd trait. Her admiration presents Kanji with another critical crossroads. He deduces that suggesting a shared goal is his best bet. He turns to Mikamo and declares they should both get strong, leaving her utterly baffled. He asks for her opinion on the match and then her opinion on him. Her mind flashes back to the incident with the spectator, recalling how he chose de-escalation over a fight. A shadow of disappointment flickers across her face. Kanji doubles down, arguing that true strength is a trump card for both offense and defense, a source of moral support. Nearby, Elena Hiroi takes his words to heart, contemplating the idea of a power she'd never actually have to unleash. His passionate plea hits the mark. With a grin, Kanji declares they should stand together in the ring of life. His energy is infectious, and a beaming Mikamo agrees to give it her all. Their friends watch in disbelief, with Shun wondering if Kanji is actually incredible, while others suspect he just expertly sweet-talked her. At the entrance of the rising gym, a muscular man in sunglasses greets them. Kanji recognizes him instantly. It's the rowdy spectator from the match. The man smirks, asking what business they have at his gym. Kanji and Mikamo have finally arrived. She steps forward with fire in her eyes, declaring her desire to master martial arts, while Kanji quietly affirms that they share the same goal. Training commences under the instructor's piercing gaze. He commands Mika to perfect her posture and rhythm, and she obeys, relentlessly jumping rope and throwing strikes while Yuto observes. The session is grueling, leaving Yuto completely drained. He searches for Mika but finds only her clothes outside the shower room, leading to a sudden, heart-pounding realization. A devious thought takes hold as a familiar interface materializes, offering him a choice. He decisively selects the second option, resolving to join her in the bath. The consequences are immediate and violent. He suddenly finds himself in a boxing ring, geared up and bewildered, facing a furious instructor while Mika's voice echoes from nearby. The instructor declares the start of the round and unleashes a monstrous blow. The punch connects with devastating force, launching Yuto backward until he violently shatters the gym wall. Slumped in the rubble and covered in bruises, he manages a pained smirk, feeling like a character in a battle manga. He laments that he's going through hell without even getting the lucky event he desired. Reality snaps back as he finds himself still outside the shower, staring at a phone screen that shows his life points have plummeted to 50. He realized he fell for a blatant trap and now has zero room for error. He ponders the game's true mechanics, realizing that for his conquest to succeed, both he and Mika must grow stronger. Their fates and their pursuit of power are now inextricably linked. To build a proper rapport, he knows he must project kindness. He rejects the aggressive options and chooses the first path, simply leaving a fresh towel for her. The choice is a success. Mika emerges from the shower and thanks him for waiting, leaving Yuto absolutely captivated by her appearance. To him, she looks like a goddess worth 300 million points. She leans in with a mischievous grin, catching him completely off guard. She asks point blank if he saw her panties, leaving him flustered and struggling to find words. He quickly admits his fault, but surprisingly, Mika isn't angry. She explains that she deduced the truth because of the kind gesture with the towel, linking his thoughtfulness to the accidental discovery. She decides to let it slide, privately noting that he is far more gentlemanly than she initially believed. To mark their new bond, she decides to start calling him Aki. The positive shift is confirmed when he checks his phone. Mika's affection level has climbed to a solid 20, proving that his calculated plan is working perfectly. While walking home, Mika reflects on Yuto's qualities. She admires his blunt honesty, his serious work ethic, and his genuine kindness. Standing at her front door, her thoughts crystallize. She mentally apologizes for misjudging him, realizing he isn't scary at all as a new desire to get closer to him begins to bloom. This marks the beginning of a new daily routine at the gym. Mika dedicates herself to the grind, her punches growing more explosive as her self-confidence reaches new heights. After a session, they cool down with ice pops. Yuto finds himself staring intensely at Mika as she eats, causing her to blush and ask why he's looking at her like that, leaving him speechless. She reflects on her transformation, feeling that the gym has forged a mental shield within her. She no longer runs from the struggle. She is now ready to face any challenge head-on. This mental evolution is a crucial step for Yuto's conquest, even if the timeline is shifting from the original game. His thoughts are interrupted by a cheerful message from Mika, asking for a spar tomorrow. The next day at school, Yuto overhears a pack of girls gossiping. They're trashing Mika, calling her a fool for rejecting the popular Toshi. One bully even vows to teach her a lesson. Yudo recognizes this scripted event from the game, but he wonders how his role as a villain will change the outcome. As the final bell rings, the male students notice Mika has already vanished along with her bag. They're left wondering where she could have disappeared to so quickly. His expression turns cold as a directive flashes on his phone. It's a simple, chilling command. Find her inside the school. Elsewhere, the blonde ringleader and her cronies corner their prey. She aggressively demands to know why Mika had the audacity to reject Toshi. Their target is indeed Mika, but she's done running. Stealing her resolve, she declares she's finished with their insults, stating plainly that she rejected the boy because she simply isn't interested. This honesty sends the bullies into a frenzy. They accuse her of being a manipulative tease who strings boys along for fun, hurling vile insults at her. Mika remains calm, retorting that her choices are none of their business. Enraged, the blonde bully delivers a stinging slap across Mika's face. She screams that Mika is getting way too cocky for her own good. She swings again, but this time, Mika dodges with ease. She realizes the bully's attacks are clumsy and powerless. The defensive techniques she learned are finally clicking, allowing her to stand her ground. Mika beams with pride as her training pays off. But the moment is cut short when Yudo storms past her to confront the bullies. The blonde girl sneers, mockingly calling Mika the strongest heroine who thinks she's better than everyone else. The confrontation only fuels the bully's rage. She suddenly brandishes a knife, threatening to gouge out Yudo's eyes. He stares in pure disbelief. Who brings a lethal weapon to school? Suddenly, the world freezes as a familiar game interface appears. 4 options materialize. Sacrifice himself, dodge, apologize, or strike back. With his life on the line, there is zero room for error. He quickly analyzes the board. Apologizing is useless, and dodging puts Mika in the line of fire. Sacrifice is too high a price. By process of elimination, only one path remains, option 4. He has to hit her. He reflects on the weight of this choice. For Mika, martial arts are a passion, not a weapon. But for him, in this life-or-death moment, violence is the only way to protect what matters. He lunges forward with explosive speed. A single powerful strike sends the knife flying from the bully's hand, leaving her face frozen in a mask of pure shock. His overwhelming dominance terrifies the group, sending them fleeing in a panic. He barks a final warning after them. If they ever show their faces again, he'll make sure they can never look in a mirror again. After the dust settles, he and Mika sit together. She thanks him, admitting she only found the courage to stand up because of his support. Internally, Yudo feels a massive surge of accomplishment. A system notification pings, showing Mika's affection level at 80. He's confused. He expected it to hit 100. Mika turns to him, blushing deeply, and confesses she wants to fall for him even harder. She suddenly appears in full boxing gear, issuing a final challenge. To win her heart completely, he must prove he's stronger than her. This is it, the final boss event for maximum affection. She mocks Yudo's passivity, asking if he's just going to be her punching bag. Realizing he's holding back out of love, she demands he give it his all. With a fierce cry, she lunges in for the attack. He stands his ground, his resolve hardening as her fists fly toward him. He declares with unwavering conviction that he will never strike the woman he loves, even if it costs him his life. His heartfelt declaration stops her dead in her tracks. A system notification confirms her affection has finally hit the maximum level. Overwhelmed with emotion, she confesses her love through tears, promising to give him all of her first times. She seeks confirmation, asking if he truly meant those words. He affirms his love without a second thought. She reciprocates the sentiment, admitting that beneath his delinquent exterior, he is actually serious, kind, and incredibly strong. Sometime later, after the bullies flee in absolute terror, Mika stands before Yuto in her school uniform. With a bright, determined expression, she playfully warns him that she won't be going easy on him during their next encounter. The next morning, she greets him with a cheerful, "Morning, Aki!" Shun is stunned by the sudden intimacy. Yuto reflects on how his body moved instinctively during the fight and how much bolder Mika has become, confirming to Shun that she is indeed using his nickname. He has successfully conquered Mikako Kawai's route. He stares at his phone, which displays his status as the villain Kanji Akutsu. With 3 heroines now conquered, he looks at the girls and feels a surge of existential dread. He questions the nature of this world, its creator, and the terrifying consequences of his life points hitting 0, cursing the unknown architect for forcing him into these lethal scenarios. Yudo Hatano, now trapped in the body of the villainous Kanji Akutsu, reflects on his grueling ordeal. To escape the death loops of this brutal dating sim, Hyper School Flare ST, he must conquer every heroine. So far, he has succeeded with 3: Akira Tomasada, Elena Hiroi, and Mikako Kawai. With those conquests behind him, only one target remains: the peppy Yua Minamoto. As he nears the school, he spots Akira greeting someone just as Yua appears, flashing a cheerful wink and a peace sign. Yua is the classic childhood friend, but her bubbly persona is reserved strictly for the game's protagonist. To everyone else, she is a socially awkward mess. His system interface confirms the reality. Her affection for him is at -100, and her communication skills are non-existent. Inside the classroom, Shun Ogasawara arrives, apologizing for oversleeping. Yua dismisses it with a blush, privately celebrating that their interaction is perfectly following the game's script, solidifying her role as the lead heroine. As Yua enjoys the moment, Elena Hiroi asks Yudo what he is muttering about. He tries to brush her off, but she presses him, curious if Minamoto is that friendly with everyone. Elena admits she has never actually spoken to the girl. She pauses, realization dawning on her. Now that she thinks about it, she has only ever seen Yua speaking with Ogasawara. She admits she simply never paid much attention to the girl before. This observation solidifies Yudo's strategy. Since the game is told from Shun's perspective, Yua seems popular, but in reality, she is a total loner. He decides to exploit this loner mode to win her over. Despite his low intelligence and communication stats, he is determined to conquer this final heroine. He approaches Yua directly and asks if she and Ogasawara are dating. The question sends her into a total tailspin. She stammers out a denial, apologizing profusely in overly polite language. Yudo recognizes this as a sign of her crippling social anxiety, a classic trope for childhood friend characters. Suddenly, Yua lets out a horrified shriek. Her panicked reaction confirms he has successfully triggered her story route. A set of 4 dialogue options materialize before him. He notes that without Shun around, she truly acts like a completely different person. He weighs his options. With her affection so low, most choices seem out of character or too villainous. He settles on the first option, hoping to validate her loner side. However, Yua covers her face in shame, whispering that she hates herself. Suddenly, Shun barks from across the room, telling Yuto to back off. Her distress summons Shun Ogasawara, who brandishes a baseball bat with murderous intensity. He steps between them, roaring that he'll destroy anyone who hurts her. Caught off guard, Yudo realizes the heroic protagonist actually has a terrifyingly short fuse. The world plunges into darkness, and Yudo jolts awake in his own bed, his head throbbing. He is relieved to have respawned safely, but the crushing anxiety remains, the fear that one day he won't be able to come back. Analyzing his failure, he pulls up the system interface. He realizes his previous approach was a disaster and decides on a new tactic. From the list of options, he selects the 4th choice, call for a friend. The choice takes effect instantly back in the classroom. Yudo calls out for help, and Akira Tomasada turns to him with a pleasant smile. He realizes she is the friend the system has summoned to his side. He tries to explain the situation, but Akira is confused by him calling her a friend. She clarifies she only stepped in because he looked like he was in deep trouble. Flustered, Yuto attempts to explain the chaotic incident involving Yua Minamoto. Akira offers her assessment of Yua, remarking that despite his intimidating looks, he's a respectable and dependable guy. She notes he's great at taking care of others, even if he is a bit of a busybody. Yua listens in silence, processing this unexpected praise. Seizing the moment, Yuto urges Yua to open up to him as well, promising that school life will be much more exciting. He offers her a shoulder to lean on, but Yua recoils, calling herself worthless and begging to be left alone. Yuto notes internally that bringing Akira as backup was a masterstroke. Later, while alone in the school restroom, she mulls over Akira's words. She begins to consider the possibility that Aku is actually a dependable and caring person, despite his meddlesome nature. Her thoughts are cut short when she looks at a photo on her phone, a happy memory of herself with Shun. She admits it's rare for Akira to speak so highly of anyone, but reassures herself that as long as she has Shun, everything will be fine. Meanwhile, Yuto stands outside a modest apartment complex, scouting it from a distance. He confirms this is Yua's home, just as the plot suggested, noting that her family appears to be quite poor. He's found the key to her heart. To conquer Yua Minamoto, he has to go through her family. Since her parents' divorce, she's been living with her mother and two younger siblings, acting as their primary caretaker while her mother works. To a typical protagonist, she might seem like a bubbly, positive girl who excels at taking care of people. But to a villain like him, her family structure is a glaring vulnerability to be analyzed and exploited. With this strategy in mind, he spots his targets, Yua's little sister Hana and her little brother Yuki. Knowing Yua has her guard up, he decides the best approach is to win over the children first. He approaches them with a wide grin, falsely introducing himself as a friend of their sister. His smile is so intense it actually scares them, making him realize he half-assed the introduction. Luckily, he's prepared a powerful trump card. His secret weapon is a wafer card from the wildly popular anime Shiny Fairies. The children's eyes widen in absolute amazement at the sight of the rare character card. He kneels down to their level, musing aloud that since he has a duplicate, he might as well throw one away. Seeing their crestfallen faces, he changes his tune and offers the card to Hana, suggesting they become friends to make their sister happy. Overjoyed, Hana accepts with a loud thank you. The children's eyes light up as they realize he has a mountain of wafers. He knows their financial situation is tight, meaning they never get to ask for such treats. Seizing the opening, he invites them to the park, and they eagerly accept. The park is soon filled with the sounds of their games as they play together, shouting out sparkly attacks and playfully taunting one another. Meanwhile, Yua returns from her shopping trip with a bicycle basket full of groceries. She mentally plans her evening meal, deciding to cook the half-priced items first. Her thoughts are interrupted by the sound of her siblings' laughter, leaving her puzzled. Puzzled, she stops in her tracks, her eyes widening in disbelief. There are Yuki and Hana, laughing with more joy than she's ever seen, playfully clinging to Kanji Aku. She watches them, a knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach. She desperately hopes he hasn't revealed the truth she works so hard to conceal, that at school, she's a gloomy loner. The thought of them learning this is unbearable, as she always tries to be a cheerful older sister at home. At home, the memory of a recent school day surfaces. Shun Ogasawara had approached her, noticing her distraction and asking what was on her mind. Nearby, Yuto held a ball as her siblings called out to him. Seeing she was preoccupied, Shun suggested they hang out another time, and she quietly agreed. Later, she finds Yuto and thanks him for playing with her siblings, her voice trembling as she asks if he told them anything strange. He simply smiles, reassuring her that everything is fine and that he enjoyed himself. Overwhelmed with relief, she bows deeply. For Yuto, the entire situation is like a game. A mental interface presents him with several of Yua's secrets. He deduces that her greatest fear is her siblings discovering she has no friends at school. Among all the options, this is her ultimate vulnerability. He presses the matter, asking if by something strange, she means the fact that she has no friends. Yua flinches, defensively stammering that she and Shun are close, but Yuto can see his prodding is hurting her, and he derives a strange satisfaction from it. That provocation triggers a violent backlash. Enraged, Shun Ogasawara swings a metal bat directly at Yuto's skull, roaring that he won't forgive anyone who hurts Yua. He declares their bond is as sacred as family, leaving a stunned Yuto struggling to explain his cold logic. The impact leaves him reeling, and later that night, his head throbs with agonizing pain. He realizes Ogasawara's aggression is extreme even for a game character, especially after his life points plummet by 20. During his recovery, he analyzes the situation with surgical precision. He realizes Yua isn't a true loner, but merely painfully shy, a subtle nuance the original game failed to capture. The game's interface exposes her deepest vulnerabilities, her kindness and her devotion to family. He realizes the ultimate weapon against her is a truth that would devastate her siblings, so he discards the obvious choices. Facing her again under Shun's watchful eye, he strikes. He ignores the minor secrets and interrogates her about their missing father, causing Yua to freeze in pure, stammering shock. She eventually closes her eyes in relief, thanking them for their silence. Yua confesses to her siblings, Hana and Yuki, that she lied about their father working away, begging Yudo and Shun to maintain the facade. As the siblings vanish down the street, Shun waves a friendly goodbye. Yudo echoes the sentiment, his eyes fixed on their retreating figures. He checks his phone, a sinister smirk playing on his lips. Yua Minamoto's affection score has plummeted to -80, yet he views this catastrophic drop as a sign of absolute progress. His strategy crystallizes. The path to conquering Yua isn't through her school life, but her family's hidden scars. She's protecting her siblings with a desperate lie, and now Yudo knows exactly how to exploit it. The next day, he corners Yua with a cheerful grin, mocking her happy sister act before demanding they become friends. Flustered and desperate to escape, Yua tries to flee, but Yudo immediately calls out her pathetic lie. As she stands paralyzed, Shun intervenes just as class is about to begin. Yua desperately questions Yudo's true motives, wondering if she should turn to Shun for protection. However, her words fail her as she looks at Shun, her cheeks flushing a deep crimson. She finds herself spiraling into a trance, questioning the very nature of friendship. She muses that real bonds should form naturally, while Yudo watches from the shadows, acknowledging Shun's reliability. His expression darkens as he curses Shun, labeling him a flirtatious pest who needs to be eliminated. He realizes Shun's affection points are already peaking, and it's only a matter of time before they become lovers. He concludes his conquest is doomed unless he can force Yua to fall for him first. Glancing at his phone, he sees his affection level with Kanan is a measly 45. He decides to stop playing fair. It's time to use every dirty trick in the book to clear this roadblock. He presents a box of wafers to the ecstatic children, who erupt in cheers. Having successfully infiltrated the sibling circle, he helps them hunt for rare cards, cementing his place in their lives. Watching from afar, Yua expresses her disbelief to Shun. She never imagined Hana and Yuki would bond so quickly with someone like Yudo. When a ball bounces away, Yudo immediately leaps into action to retrieve it for Yuki. Yua watches with a heavy heart, wondering why her siblings seem to have more fun with this stranger than with her. Suddenly, a chilling premonition floods his mind. A disaster is imminent. The system interface flashes into existence, presenting him with 4 life-or-death choices. He sees a horrific future where Yuki is crushed by a vehicle. The fear of failure is paralyzing, but with grim resolve, he prepares to save the boy at any cost. The vision transforms into a terrifying reality as a massive truck barrels toward Yuki, who stands paralyzed in its path. Time grinds to a halt as both Yuto and Yuki let out blood-curdling screams of horror. Moving like a blur, Yudo lunges forward and tackles the boy, narrowly escaping the crushing weight of the truck. He shields Yuki in his arms as they tumble across the asphalt, eventually coming to a stop on the safety of the curb. Once the adrenaline fades, Yuto sternly reprimands the boy, while Yua watches in awe as her perception of this nasty guy completely flips. She makes him promise to keep their secrets and visit again, unaware that Yudo is tracking her rising affection levels like a pro gamer. Yudo becomes a fixture at the house, but as the affection meter stalls, Yua emerges in a domestic apron that leaves him absolutely breathless. She shyly invites him to stay for dinner, a move that catches the normally composed Yuto completely off guard. He quickly regains his cool, realizing this is the massive breakthrough he's been waiting for, and accepts with a charming smile. A steaming plate of sweet curry is served, and Yua explains she tailored the recipe specifically for her younger siblings. Yudo showers her with praise after the first bite, causing Yua to turn a deep shade of crimson as she avoids his gaze. As he prepares to head out, the kids begin relentlessly teasing Yua about her feelings, sending her into a flustered panic. Later, while soaking in the bath, Yua realizes she's falling for his dependable nature and yearns to cook for him again. The next day, Yudo pushes his conquest strategy further, encouraging Yua to live for herself before boldly sliding into the seat next to her. Suddenly, a game-like interface manifests, forcing Yudo to choose Yua's future path from 4 bizarre and cryptic options. While Yudo struggles with the choice, Yua daydreams about the possibilities, feeling a strange pull toward one specific destiny. He suggests the tennis club, but Yua recoils in horror at the thought of dealing with extroverts. Just as a rock tumbles from above, a heavy flower pot plummets toward Yua's head, sparking a chaotic scene as her friends suspect a mysterious figure named Aorama. That night, Yudo realizes his life force has plummeted to a critical 40%, leaving him on the brink of total failure. He reflects on his past victories, vowing to prioritize her happiness to ensure he doesn't meet a grisly end. His focus shifts back to the list of choices, specifically analyzing option 3. He reasons that as an idol, Yua could finally earn a living, conquer her shyness, and build unbreakable confidence. It's the most grueling path available, but it's the only way she'll ever fulfill her dream of making real friends. He pitches the radical idea to Yua. She needs to become an idol. He highlights her natural charm and lightning-fast reflexes as her greatest assets. Yua is stunned by the suggestion, protesting that a roly-poly girl with 0 singing or dancing experience is doomed to fail. He stands firm, insisting that the stage is the only cure for her crippling loneliness. A flicker of hope ignites in her eyes as she weighs his words, wondering if a transformation is truly possible. The moment is shattered when Yudo suddenly starts snapping photos of her. She's outraged by the sudden photo shoot, but he's already 3 steps ahead, convinced these shots are her ticket through the open audition. Several days later, he smugly presents his phone to show her a life-changing notification. Yua has officially passed the first screening. While he offers his congratulations, Yua is absolutely livid, demanding to know why he entered her into the contest without her consent. Her anger quickly turns to pure anxiety as she worries about the trouble this will cause her family. Yudo dismisses her fears, declaring that her loner status is her only weakness. He vows to transform her into a talented, cool older sister who can sing and dance her way into Hana and Yuki's hearts. Leaning in with intense conviction, he promises her that she won't be a burden to anyone. He brings up the famous student idol, Kirarin, as proof of what's possible, leaving Yua completely overwhelmed by his explosive passion. She tries to retreat to her household chores, but he refuses to back down. With a determined grin, he reveals that the second audition requires a full performance. Appointing himself her producer, he vows to forge her into the ultimate idol and schedules a brutal training regime to start immediately after school. The grind begins, and Yua shocks him by scoring a staggering 97 in karaoke on her very first try. While she thinks it's a fluke, he pushes her to own her talent. They practice singing and dancing relentlessly, with Yudo coaching her to weaponize her reflexes and maintain a radiant smile to mask her shyness. During a break at the vending machines, she finally asks the burning question, why is he going to such lengths for her? His answer is simple. It's because they are friends. Yua is silenced, quietly absorbing the weight of his words. He adds that he can see the genuine joy she feels when she's performing. He pulls out an old app on his phone, showing her a hidden stream that proves she's always had the heart of an idol. He tells her to find her confidence, if not for herself, then for the sake of her siblings. On the day of the audition, the sheer scale of the crowd at the venue is suffocating. Yudo offers one last burst of encouragement, telling her to unleash everything they practiced. Stealing her resolve, she takes a deep breath and marches toward the entrance. Standing backstage, the muffled roar of the crowd echoes in her ears. Yudo gives her a warm smile, telling her to sing for her family, and maybe even for him. Yua thinks he's a total weirdo, but his presence is the only thing keeping her steady. Alone for a moment in her shimmering stage outfit, the nerves return with a vengeance. She prays her training is enough to make her siblings proud. Clinging to his advice, she chooses to believe in the path he laid out for her. With a surge of newfound resolve, she bursts onto the stage. Bathed in blinding spotlights, she unleashes an infectious energy and a radiant smile that instantly captivates every judge and audience member in the room. The performance is a resounding success. Overcome with emotion, she can barely process the news. She passed. From the sidelines, Yudo watches his protege's victory with a triumphant grin. Amidst the celebration, a girl in a school uniform approaches them. She admits she failed the audition and asks with a hopeful smile if Yua was the one who made the cut. Caught off guard, Yua can only stammer in response. The girl's praise is genuine, noting that Yua beat out 500 contestants to reach the final round. Yudo watches the exchange, hoping this taste of success helps Yua grow, while silently wishing the stranger luck on her own journey. But the next hurdle is already looming. Yua explains that the final audition involves a swimsuit contest, and she doesn't own anything cute. With a blush, she asks him to go shopping with her, and Yudo readily accepts the challenge. At the store, the endless selection of swimsuits leaves Yua spiraling. She frets over her figure, convinced nothing will fit her roly-poly frame. Yudo calmly shuts down her insecurities, promising they'll find a look that makes her look like a superstar. His words offer a small comfort, but her mind is still racing. She realizes that inviting him was a huge step forward for her confidence. Yet, even as she evolves, a nagging intuition tells her that things are about to get much more complicated. The conversation shifts as he showers her with compliments, insisting her casual style is just as adorable as any high-fashion look. Yua is completely flustered, begging him to stop as her face turns beet red from the praise. Internally, Yuto knows he's playing his cards right, steeled for the final choice that will determine everything. He watches as Yua scans the swimsuit selection, her hands trembling slightly as she admits a few have caught her eye. She disappears into the fitting room before her voice nervously calls out, asking if he can come take a look. Despite her embarrassment, she craves his validation, and Yuto is more than happy to oblige. When she steps out, the sight is breathtaking, and he immediately declares it's the perfect choice. He finds her incredibly sexy, and his enthusiastic approval is all the confidence she needs to lock it in. Standing there, a surge of newfound confidence washes over her, replacing her old fears of being seen. She realizes that with Aku by her side, she's capable of anything, acknowledging him as the true source of her courage. Meanwhile, Yuto is focused on the cold, hard numbers, checking his phone to see her affection level has hit 80. His praise worked, but since it's not maxed out, he knows his mission is far from over. He views the upcoming audition with tactical optimism, certain her stunning figure gives her a massive edge. Success means more than just fame. It means lifting her family out of poverty and becoming a hero to her younger siblings. When the big day finally arrives, he watches from the crowd as she takes the stage as contestant number 422. Yuto feels a massive wave of relief that he's allowed to be there, beaming with pride as she stands her ground without her usual shyness. The crowd is buzzing, with girls nearby whispering about how cute she is and the staggering 2,000 applicants she beat out. Overhearing this, Yuto can't help but smile at the incredible feat Yua has already achieved. However, his smile fades as the gravity of the situation sinks in while watching the other elite contestants. While others might see her as an underdog, to him, she is the undisputed heroine of this story. As the final lineup is called, the tension in the room becomes suffocating. Down in the audience, the pressure finally gets to Yuto, who grips his head in frustration, wondering why this shitty game has such a complete hold on him. He wanders through the back hallways, trying to find the exit and figure out what to say to Yua, only to realize he's stumbled into a restricted staff area. He freezes as he hears voices around the corner, peeking out to see two men who appear to be the judges. He listens in as they discuss the potential of the remaining contestants. The conversation quickly turns disgusting as they make lewd comments about contestant 422 crudely objectifying her bombshell body. Yuto's expression hardens into a mask of pure disgust as he listens to their filth. The light-haired judge admits he intentionally rejected her just so he could corner her in the green room later, viewing her as an ignorant brat. As they spot Yuto, his face is already contorted with a primal rage. He explodes into a confrontation, screaming that they're dead wrong about her. He barks out the truth, that Yua works herself to the bone every day to care for her siblings while they play their sick games. Suddenly, the world freezes into a familiar game interface, presenting him with 4 final paths. He can beg, ignore them, explain further, or simply let his fists do the talking. He scoffs at the system, not giving a damn if his life points hit 0. If the correct choice means letting his heroine cry, then he's done playing by the rules, decisively choosing to punch the living daylights out of the man. With a guttural roar, he lunges forward and buries his fist into the judge's face, sending him flying. As the room descends into chaos, Yuto snarls at the dirtbag, warning him to never show his face near Yua again. Later, standing outside the venue, he reflects on the fallout of his actions. Despite the looming consequences, he feels a grim sense of certainty that he made the only choice that mattered. He reasons that such a rigged audition would only amplify Yua's deepest insecurities. Suddenly, Yua appears, her face a mask of defeat. She tearfully apologizes, claiming she was never good enough for the challenge, leaving him stunned. Tears stream down her face as she sobs, apologizing for failing despite all the support he provided. He gently takes her hands, reassuring her that she performed brilliantly against such fierce competition. He insists she is no failure, and gestures for her to look behind her. She looks up to see two other contestants approaching. They wave and shower her with praise, commending her hard work and incredible performance. Flustered but grateful, Yua thanks them for the unexpected encouragement. Her tear-filled eyes widen as she processes their words, and a spark of self-belief finally begins to flicker within her. Just as she realizes her worth, a notification pings on his phone. The system displays Yua Minamoto's profile, showing her affection level has finally hit the max of 100. Fueled by newfound resolve, Yua turns to him. She confesses that thanks to Aku, her life has transformed into a joy. She admits her feelings have evolved far beyond friendship, and she can no longer imagine life without him. Her face flushes, and her voice falters as she struggles to voice the most critical part of her realization. Finally, with a radiant, determined smile, she looks him in the eye and declares her love. Overwhelmed, he confesses his love in return. Yua closes her eyes, blushing deeply as the distance between them vanishes. The next morning, Yuto muses on how he's finally adapting to his villainous role. Meanwhile, at school, a transformed Yua excitedly talks music with her friends. Her newfound confidence is undeniable, and a system notification confirms her status. Conquered. Spotting him, she rushes over with a cheerful greeting, though she's puzzled by her hazy memories. He knows this memory wipe is a standard mechanic. Undeterred, she announces her plan to tackle the idol world again and asks for his help. He readily agrees, vowing to mold her into the ultimate superstar. Yuto Hatano reflects on his massive progress. He has successfully conquered all 4 heroines: Akira, Elena, Mikako, and Yua. With his objective complete, he expects to return home, but for some mysterious reason, the exit remains sealed. His thoughts are shattered by an unexpected chime from his phone, demanding his immediate attention. A new interface flickers to life, displaying a startling message. Welcome to the second stage. Below it, a massive start button pulses, signaling a dangerous new development. In the faculty office, Yuto, still in the body of the villain Aku, receives a shock. A teacher informs him that he's banned from the upcoming school trip. Stunned, he demands an explanation as his plans crumble. He reflects on his progress, realizing that just as he thought he'd won, the game has thrown a massive curveball with this second stage. With a decisive press, he activates the start button, initiating the next phase of this twisted reality. He wonders if this truly marks the beginning of a whole new level of chaos. The stage is set for the game's most iconic event, a 4-day school trip to Okinawa. He envisioned sun-soaked beaches and aquarium dates with the heroines. He held high hopes that the second stage would start with a romantic sunset at a beachside cafe. However, reality has a much more brutal plan in store. The truth of his situation is far more pathetic. Akira Tomasada realizes his dream trip is dead because he's short exactly 12,000 yen. He slumps over his desk in total despair, dramatically claiming his life is over. While Elena Hiroi mocks his theatrics, Akira tries to boost his spirits with promises of souvenirs. The drama continues as Yua Minamoto mockingly offers a single 100-yen coin as a loan. However, Mikamo Hawaii arrives with a lifeline. He has 2 weeks to cough up the cash. This spark of hope comes with a practical challenge. He needs a part-time job. The weight of the suggestion hangs heavy as he nervously considers the impossible task. He calculates his odds, wondering if 12,000 yen is even possible in a fortnight. Suddenly, a mysterious voice chimes in with the perfect solution. Elena steps up, offering him a gig at her family's luxury resort. Seeing an easy path forward, he eagerly accepts, vowing to work his soul off to reach Okinawa. Leveraging Elena's pull, he ditches school to start his grind immediately. For the next 2 weeks, he's a full-time grunt at the hotel restaurant, trading sweat for a bed and meals. A co-worker approaches, impressed by the rookie's natural talent. He introduces himself as Kanji Aku, while she reveals herself as the 21-year-old Mahiro. She leans in close, her presence overwhelming his personal space. Mahiro teases him for staring, leaving him a stammering, blushing mess. His sheer competence quickly turns her teasing into awe. She watches in disbelief as he balances a massive tower of plates with godlike precision. He's a man of many talents, even delighting a young child by folding a napkin into a perfect rabbit. It's a masterclass in high-tier service. The family is stunned, and Mahiro realizes this kid has skills that can't be taught. Elena watches from the shadows, satisfied that her unconventional protege is thriving. Mahiro can't help but smile at the gap between his boyish looks and elite skills. She knows things are about to get very interesting. By nightfall, he collapses into his dorm bed, completely drained. He only needs to survive 11 more days, but a sharp knock at the door shatters his peace. He opens the door to find Mahiro standing there. She greets him with a grin, claiming the shower in her room is completely busted. Seeing her wrapped in nothing but a short robe, his heart nearly stops. Despite the internal chaos, he stammers an invitation and lets her inside. As the sound of the shower fills the air, he sits on his bed, paralyzed by the fact that Mahiro is currently in his room. His mind races through every lucky trope in the book. He wonders if this is finally his moment, but he forces himself to stay sharp. It's only day 1. Moments later, she emerges from the steam and thanks him. To his absolute shock, she plops down right next to him on the bed, invading his personal bubble. She cracks open a drink and asks how his first day went. He tries to play it cool, but his trembling gaze gives him away as she teases him for being cute. She leans in until her lips graze his ear, whispering a promise to assist him with any problem he faces. This intimate gesture leaves him utterly paralyzed. Following her shocking offer, he bows deeply and vows to work his hardest without being a burden. Amused by his reaction, she agrees they should both give it their all tomorrow. As the evening fades, a startling realization hits him. Recalling the game After School Flair, he's certain that a conquerable character named Mahiro never existed in the original world. She was a mere background character, irrelevant to the main plot. The mental strain and physical exhaustion finally take their toll, forcing him to cast these thoughts aside and drift into sleep. His Sunday shift is interrupted by the arrival of 4 familiar faces. Yua Minamoto waves enthusiastically as she, Akira, Mikamo, and Elena take their seats, with Akira noting his impressive work ethic. He approaches their table, formally welcoming Elena before whispering a question about their sudden visit. A flustered Elena insists she's only there to prevent him from embarrassing her, but Yua chimes in, revealing that Elena was actually worried sick. Mikamo adds her own words of concern with a soft expression. She acknowledges the difficulty of his long shifts and encourages him to confide in her whenever he feels overwhelmed, promising to always listen. Following that sentiment, Yua brightly presents a bag of homemade cookies. She explains their refreshments for his break, proudly declaring she baked them specifically for him. Akira comments that the uniform suits him perfectly, though she adds a sharp piece of advice. Since his looks are lacking, he must compensate with flawless manners. Despite the jab, her presence remains oddly soothing. Elena grows defensive, her cheeks flushing red. She insists she isn't like the others and is only there to monitor his performance. In response, he simply expresses his gratitude and promises to give it his all. He returns to his duties, presenting them with a massive, multi-tiered platter of decadent desserts. He apologizes for the wait as the girls gasp in awe at the magnificent spread. Their eyes widen at the sight. Mikamo exclaims how beautiful it looks, while Akira agrees with a gentle smile that everything appears delicious. Elena notes that these are limited edition items, while an ecstatic Yua declares them adorable and immediately whips out her phone to snap a photo. As they begin to eat, their delight is palpable. Mikamo and Yua savor every bite while Akira praises the high-quality tea. Watching from a distance, he simply tells them to enjoy their meal. Back in bed, Yudo Hitano lets out a heavy sigh of exhaustion. The day was draining, but he's surprised by how satisfied the heroines were with their visit. While resting, he checks his phone to find messages praising the food and tea. He realizes that now that he's conquered the heroines, they've begun to interact with him exactly like they do in the original game. This realization solidifies his resolve. His eyes narrow with determination. He will reach Okinawa no matter what. For now, his focus remains on crushing his shift tomorrow. The next day, he puts that resolve into action. The work is grueling, but things are moving smoothly. He's mastered his tasks and is finally building a solid rapport with his co-worker, Mahiro. His mood is bolstered by a flood of supportive messages from the heroines. They wish him luck and tell him to stay healthy, though one playfully threatens to cut his pay if he slacks off. Their support fuels his fire to keep pushing forward. While his days are productive, his nights present a new challenge. He craves sleep after work, but lately, Mahiro has started crashing at his apartment for drinks. Tonight is no different as she appears at his door with a cheerful greeting. Once inside, she makes herself comfortable with a cold beer. As Yuto sips his drink, he can't help but stare, wondering if she'll ever cover up those revealing outfits. She catches his gaze and immediately starts teasing him. Leaning in, she asks him point blank how he handles his urges. His flustered reaction sends her into a laughing fit, calling him innocent for being so easily rattled. Reeling from her directness, he freezes as she whispers the answer into his ear. She takes care of business herself. This bombshell confession leaves him absolutely stunned. Before he can recover, she drops another bomb. They should hit the bathhouse together. Yuto is horrified, convinced he won't survive a shared bath with her. But Mahiro is nonchalant, reminding him it's midnight and he needs to hurry up. Unable to refuse her drunken invitation, he joins her in the bath, learning the staff can use it after hours. He tries to rush through the awkwardness, but she cheerfully tells him it's time to get undressed. When he hesitates, she corners him with a playful threat. She wonders aloud what would happen if she screamed, implying he'd lose his job the moment others rushed in. Trapped, he endures the strange sensation as she begins washing his back. His protests turn into a flustered plea for her to just get it over with. She leans in close, whispering a question. Is she using a towel, her hands, or something else? The sudden realization of what's pressed against his back leaves him stammering in shock. Overwhelmed, he scrambles away and flees the room, shouting for a break. Mahiro watches him go with a look of surprise, quietly noting his narrow escape. The encounter leaves him restless, and back in his room, sleep is nowhere to be found. He checks his phone to find messages of encouragement from the heroines for his final shift. They praise his dedication, but then a new notification pops up. A message from Mahiro. She apologizes for her behavior, and he quickly replies, admitting he was just caught off guard. Reflecting on his time with her, he realizes that despite her being a handful, he actually enjoys her peppy nature. His final day at the restaurant arrives, and the shift concludes without any drama. He works diligently, serving customers while Mahiro handles her own duties nearby. Later, back in his room, he counts his hard-earned cash. To his surprise, he's raked in a total of 14,000 yen. A knock at the door is followed by an ecstatic Mahiro throwing it open. She cheers loudly, celebrating that she can finally afford the school trip to Okinawa. Seeing him, she holds up 2 grocery bags and announces a wrap-up party for his last day. He thinks it's a great idea and readily agrees. They sit together as she encourages him to eat his fill. They raise their drinks in a toast, and he's relieved to see her acting normal again, assuming she was just hammered before. Later, a flushed Mahiro lies on the bed and pleads with him not to quit. Sitting beside her, he gently reminds her that this job was always just a temporary gig. She murmurs that school is boring anyway, and that she's only working to stack up some serious cash. Her words make him reflect. She might be right, but his path is different. He must attend school to escape this world, even if it means dying 1,000 times to flee his traumatic past. His train of thought shatters as the hero leans against him, confessing that their time together is the highlight of her day. He's caught off guard by her sudden intimacy and raw honesty. She doubles down, promising to wash away his every sorrow if they stay together, whispering through a smile that she's never been happier. Her words leave him reeling in total confusion, forcing him to ask what she truly means. Turning to face him with tear-filled eyes and a flushed face, she drops the bombshell. She's in love with him. Her advances turn aggressive, and when he questions her sincerity, She reminds him she wouldn't be this bold in a bath if she weren't serious. Hovering over him, she admits he's had her heart since the moment they met, which is why she constantly sought him out. Her voice drops to a whisper as she begs him to stay forever, promising to fulfill his every desire if he chooses her. His mind races as he faces a life-altering crossroads: walk away or surrender to her. He realizes this path could end his suffering, especially since his efforts with the other girls haven't even earned him a single kiss. Visions of Elena, Yua, Akira, and Mikamo flash through his mind just as a message from Elena pops up. He knows they support him, but the plan to save them a decade from now feels like a fever dream. Suddenly, conviction surges through him. He can't betray the girls who believe in him so deeply. He chooses to stop. He pulls back with a heavy apology, leaving Mahiro baffled as she tells him there's no need for restraint. With a pained, apologetic smile, he explains that there are people in his heart he simply cannot abandon. The tension breaks as they sit apart on the bed, and while Mahiro was ready to go all the way, she respects his resolve, suggesting they simply drink until the sun rises. Later at school, Yuto stands in the office as the teacher confirms his trip is paid in full, prompting him to let out a triumphant roar of victory. He envisions the girls he's sworn to protect: Yua's wave, Akira's smile, Elena's tsundere gaze, and Mikamo standing by his side. The anticipation of the upcoming trip brings a surge of confidence and a massive grin to his face. His excitement hits a fever pitch as one thought echoes in his mind: Okinawa is waiting. Morning light floods his room, signaling the official start of his grand journey. Nestled in the far west of Japan lies Okinawa, a tropical paradise of emerald islands surrounded by the endless blue of the sea. This is the ultimate destination for their school trip, a reward Yuto earned by working himself to the bone at every part-time job he could find. He saved every last yen for this exact moment. But that hopeful memory shatters against a brutal reality. Stranded and disheveled, he screams into the void, demanding to know why their school trip ended up on a deserted island. His frantic shouts go unanswered. As his gaze falls upon the distant wreckage of their plane, panic turns into pure dread. He can't fathom how this disaster happened, and his mind races with worry for the others. He checks his wrist. His waterproof smartwatch is cracked but still ticking, showing 11:04 a.m. There's absolutely no signal. Standing alone on the shore, he lets out a heavy sigh, wondering what cruel fate awaits him. As he contemplates their grim situation, a faint sound catches his ear. He spins around, and that's when he sees her, Elena Hiroi, stirring on the sand. Maybe he isn't alone after all. He approaches as she regains consciousness, greeting her with a classic, "You're finally awake." Confused, she recalls being on a plane before the terrifying truth sets in. They've crashed and they're stranded. Panic surges through her as she asks about the others, horrified at the prospect of being trapped alone with him. He admits he doesn't know their fate, stating their only option is to survive until rescue arrives. Overwhelmed, she can only offer a tearful apology. He announces his plan to scout the island for survivors and asks Elena to join him. She reacts with pure disbelief, asking if he really intends to abandon a defenseless girl like her. Seeing her fear, he extends a hand. After a tense pause, she accepts his offer and agrees to follow his lead. Her hand firmly grasps his as they forge a desperate alliance. Together, they begin their trek along the coastline, moving from the sun-drenched beach toward the shadows of the dense forest. Their search is suddenly cut short by a cheerful shout. To their shock, their classmates Akira Tomasada, Yua Minamoto, and Mikamo Hawaii appear, waving frantically. The reunited students quickly trade info. Akira is visibly relieved they're safe, while Yua worries for those still missing. Mikamo reports that their own search turned up absolutely nothing. Mikamo breaks the tension, wryly noting how their tattered clothes clash with the gravity of the situation. She refocuses the group, declaring that survival is now their absolute priority. Her words trigger a meltdown from Elena. She screams that she refuses to accept this reality, insisting she won't last 2 days in these conditions. She demands to know how they can just wait for a rescue that might never come. The other girls rush to soothe her. Akira explains that searching is futile with no land in sight, while Yua reminds her that as ordinary students, staying alive is their only real option. Suddenly, a set of choices materializes before them. The options are wait for help, stay put, or a mysterious fourth choice. A warning appears. Choose wisely, or someone's affection might drop. Hatano weighs the possibilities. He reasons that conserving energy is their best bet and, with cold logic, decides to lock in option 2. Most of the group agrees. Yua thinks it's safer than wandering, and Akira concurs. Elena, however, turns away with a frustrated sigh, telling them to do whatever they want. She's annoyed that even when she's right, nothing changes. She storms off, leaving Yudo questioning her destination. Elena scoffs, issuing a lethal warning if he dares to follow. A quick glance at his wrist device reveals a crushing blow. Her affection has plummeted from a perfect 100 to a measly 50. The others watch her departure in silence. Akira frets over her safety, but the tension breaks when their stomachs begin to roar. Yua laughs off the embarrassment before volunteering to scavenge for food while the group recovers. Guilt gnaws at Yuto as he blames himself for their current nightmare. He discovers a bush dripping with berries and wonders if they're poisonous. Suddenly, Yua teleports to his side, confidently identifying them from her botanical studies and nearly giving him a heart attack. She reaches for the fruit but loses her balance, tumbling backward. Yuto lunges to save her, but the clumsy rescue results in his face being buried against her thigh. Paralyzed by the awkward contact, he earns a sharp smack to the head from a flustered Yua. Their foraging mission is a massive success. Moments later, they proudly present a mountain of vibrant berries to a stunned Akira and Mikamo, declaring their victory over hunger. The group digs in immediately. Akira notes the sour bite, but Mikamo reminds them that beggars can't be choosers. As he chews, Yudo finds himself daydreaming about the gourmet feasts awaiting them after their rescue. Mid-thought, a new prompt flickers into existence, offering a singular command: share the fruit with Elena. Puzzled by the lack of options, he wonders why the system is forcing his hand toward this specific directive. He turns to the group, announcing his plan to bring some berries to the exiled Elena. Akira respects the decision, offering a simple warning to stay safe. As he departs, Yua waves, echoing the sentiment of caution. He treks across the sun-drenched shoreline, the afternoon sky stretching endlessly above him. Elsewhere, Elena sits in isolation, her cheeks burning with a deep blush. She reflects on her earlier outburst, secretly admitting that being alone is far more terrifying than she let on. She pulls her arms tight around her body, trapped in a storm of conflicting emotions. Suddenly, Yudo's voice breaks the silence, but his eyes instantly widen in horror. A massive serpent is coiled behind her, ready to strike. Without a second thought, he screams a warning and hurls himself into the line of fire. The serpent's fangs plunge deep into his arm. A guttural cry of agony escapes him as Elena shrieks in terror. His vision begins to blur, and his consciousness starts to wane. 2 jagged puncture wounds mark the entry point of the lethal venom now coursing through his veins. A notification pings on his wrist. His life force has just tanked by 30 points. The grim reality sets in. If he dies here, he'll be forced to restart his journey back on that original beach. He analyzes his previous choices, realizing that while some moves lead to instant death, this scenario is still unfolding. It suggests that this brutal path might have been unavoidable from the start. He realizes that his previous choice to give the fruit to Elena has set him on a fatal trajectory. To survive, he must pivot his strategy and actively manipulate the system to trigger a fresh set of survival options. Putting his plan into motion, he approaches Elena again. He suggests they scout the area together, and a skip ahead prompt appears, allowing him to bypass the tedious pleasantries of their beach encounter. Her reaction is pure fire. She screams that she'd rather walk with a sea louse than explore with him. Yudo watches in horror as her affection level hits a critical 50. A massive death flag that signals his impending doom if he can't turn things around. Yuto confronts Elena, mocking her ability to survive this desolate island. She fires back with a sharp insult, but Yuto's heart sinks as his device shows her affection level plummeting to 0 before glitching out entirely. She lashes out, branding him a perverted creep and demanding to know why he's staring. Yuto stands frozen, completely overwhelmed by her sudden, aggressive outburst. Suddenly, a massive snake lunges from the shadows. Elena screams in terror, but Yuto moves like lightning, delivering a devastating kick that sends the predator flying back into the jungle. As the dust settles, Elena stares at him with a deep blush. noticing a new intensity in his eyes. Yuto sighs in relief, barely processing the near-death experience as he offers a simple word of gratitude. That one word changes everything. His wrist device flashes as Elena's affection level skyrockets to a staggering 70, signaling a massive turning point in their relationship. A look of pure determination crosses Yuto's face. He insists she stay by his side for protection, but the flustered Elena tries to play it cool, acting like she couldn't care less about him. She stammers through her protests, claiming his help doesn't mean she likes him, desperately trying to hide her true feelings. Despite her words, her heart is racing. As she plots a mysterious revenge, the device confirms the impossible. Her affection level has officially hit the max of 100. The moment is shattered when Yua and the rest of the crew suddenly emerge onto the beach. Yuto watches in disbelief, wondering how the entire world just glitched into this bizarre new scenario. Now, the group finds themselves stranded under a burning sun, with the endless shore of the deserted island stretching out before them. Yuto manages to spark a fire on the sand, leaving the girls in absolute awe of his survival skills. He explains the science of convergence, using a water-filled bottle to ignite the tinder. While he breaks down the physics, Yua and Mikamo look on with a mix of confusion and pure wonder. With the fire roaring, the focus shifts to survival. The group decides to scavenge for food and fresh water before the sun dips below the horizon. Fueled by a new sense of purpose, Yuto gazes at the horizon and declares that they'll conquer every inch of this island. The team splits up to forage, with Elena hunting for mushrooms while Yuto and Akira engage in a fierce battle against a massive crab. Akira surveys their haul, noting they have the essentials, but she quickly spots a few lethal, poisonous mushrooms hidden among the edible ones. Mikamo suggests a luxury upgrade, a hot bath. She finds an old iron drum on the beach and proposes boiling water for a proper wash. The girls erupt with excitement at the idea. Mikamo takes charge of the preparations, and Yuto happily leaves the hard work to her. As the water heats up, Elena warns Yuto to keep his eyes to himself. He promises to behave, planning to take his turn only after the four girls have finished their soak. Inside the steaming makeshift hub, Yua Minamoto's face beams with pure joy. She exclaims that she's never experienced anything like this, while beside her, Akira Tomasada agrees with a contented smile, affirming the experience is truly extraordinary. As they soak, Mikamo Hawaii calls out to Elena Hiroi, inviting her to join them in the bath. Elena hesitates, unsure of what to do, but an undeterred Mikamo cheerfully tells her to strip down, teasing her for being shy while Elena stammers a firm refusal. Elena Hirozumi's face flushes a deep crimson, her eyes wide with a mixture of intense embarrassment and hidden anticipation. The source of her reaction becomes clear as she shares the water with a dark-haired friend who happily comments on the warmth. Overcome by the moment, Elena stammers that she wants to dive in as well. From nearby, Yua Minamoto laughs at the suggestion, pointing out that the space is far too cramped. She playfully warns that if Elena tries to join them, she'll certainly be squished. Meanwhile, a short distance away, Yuto Hitano collapses in a dramatic flood of tears. He wails that the girl's bathing spot is barely the size of a piece of melon bread, and cries out that he wants to join the fun, too. The focus shifts to a cluster of strange, spotted mushrooms, which begin to glow with an eerie, supernatural light under the evening sky. Elena now holds these very mushrooms, encouraged by her friends to give Yuto a reward for his hard work preparing their food. She blushes and timidly offers the gift, her affection meter hitting its absolute maximum. He stares at the offering, a bead of sweat rolling down his face as he faces a dire conflict. The mushroom looks incredibly suspicious, but he internally admits that no man could refuse being fed by such a cute girl, leaving him with one choice: eat or die. Having made his choice, he opens his mouth, only for a wave of pure horror to wash over his face. His friends completely misread the situation. Yua is delighted. Akira mistakes his shock for a deep blush of happiness, and only Mikamo notices his sudden paleness. The effect is instantaneous. He lies sprawled on the ground as his life force plummets to a critical 30%. As his consciousness fades, he reflects that this is the first time he's ever died in a state of pure bliss, while an observer screams at the drastic drop. Elena looks down, a faint blush still on her cheeks. She realizes with a start that she has fallen for a cunning trap. one that preyed upon her own secret desires. She holds out the glowing mushroom again, but Yuto recoils in terror, shouting that he'd never eat something so suspicious. Elena, her eyes squeezed shut, insists it's fine, reasoning that if it's safe, they can all eat it as she pleads with him not to make her a guinea pig. Meanwhile, as night falls, the other girls gather around a campfire. One of them suggests building a raft the next day, an idea met with enthusiasm, though Akira pragmatically questions where such a raft could even take them. Mikamo explains that while searching for food and water earlier, she spotted what looked like a small island just off the coast. In her mind, she already hears her friends praising her for the discovery. Her report convinces Akira, who smiles and agrees they should try. She notes that the beach has plenty of materials they can scavenge for construction. With their course of action decided, one of them suggests they get a full night's rest to gather their strength for the grueling task ahead. Elsewhere, Elena's expression hardens with grim determination. She realizes that the key to completing their mission is for the team to remain united, concluding that no one can be allowed to leave. The other girls share this resolve, though they acknowledge the difficulty. Building a raft with 4 girls is complicated, but since no other options remain, their story must continue this way, whether it leads to a good ending or a bad one. The uncertainty of their fate hangs heavy in the air, along with a silent hope to survive long enough to see this journey through to the end. By the next day, their labor bears fruit. Yua Minamoto erupts in cheers as she stands beside their crude but functional vessel, declaring the raft finally finished. The group agrees that while it isn't a masterpiece, it's sturdy enough for the journey ahead. Yuto, however, remains skeptical. He finds it suspicious that building a raft was this easy, as if the materials were conveniently planted on the shore just for them to find. His grim expression doesn't go unnoticed. Mikamo approaches him to check if he's all right, but he quickly masks his doubt with a forced smile. He brushes off her concern, ordering the group to eat and rest before they set sail at daybreak. Later that night, under a blanket of stars, Akira, Elena, and Yua are out cold on the sand, completely drained from their grueling labor. But Mikamo is wide awake, her eyes fixed on the dark, looming ocean. A heavy sigh escapes her lips until a voice breaks the silence, asking if she's also struggling to sleep. It's Yuto, approaching from the shadows. He joins her on the shoreline. Mikamo lets out a nervous laugh, admitting that despite being the one who suggested the raft, she's now the one paralyzed by the fear of tomorrow's voyage. She confesses that the crushing weight of potential failure is suffocating her. Yuto remains silent and patient, absorbing every word of her anxiety. He offers a reassuring smile, vowing to handle whatever the sea throws at them. He jokes about being their reliable anchor, finally putting her mind at ease. Comforted, she thanks him and they both head off to get some much-needed rest. The makeshift log raft now drifts across the vast open sea, leaving the distant shoreline behind. A voice rings out, checking to see if everyone is ready for the challenges ahead. Gripping a long wooden pole, Yuto shouts with fire in his eyes, urging the group forward. Behind him, Akira, Elena, and Mikamo watch with grim resolve as their tiny vessel slices through the waves. As they paddle, Akira expresses her shock that they've made it this far without a single hitch. Mikamo stays focused on the task, encouraging everyone to keep rowing with everything they've got. The raft maintains its steady progress, glinting under the harsh glare of the sun-dappled water. Suddenly, the vessel lurches violently. Elena snaps at Yuto, accusing him of messing around and shaking the raft, but he looks back in a cold sweat, insisting he didn't do a thing. The bindings splinter and snap. Screams erupt as the structure fails, dragging them into the depths. Amidst the absolute chaos, Akira desperately tries to maintain order, shouting that panicking will only make things worse. In this life-or-death moment, a digital interface flickers into Yuto's vision. It presents him with a brutal choice: press forward or stay put and conserve energy. A chilling realization strikes him. If he chooses wrong now, he won't be dying alone. A dark premonition flashes through his mind, showing the faces of his companions who will all pay the price for his failure. The dread solidifies into a horrific certainty. This is the path to the worst possible ending, one where they all perish in the deep. His resolve hardens into steel. He internally vows to rewrite this fate and save every single one of them. Every strategy used and every second spent together cannot be for nothing. He refuses to choose wrong again. He fights against the wreckage, shouting over the waves that this isn't over. He apologizes for the danger, focused solely on reaching the shore. Yua cheers him on, realizing that with a reduced weight, they might actually stand a chance. With grim determination, Yudo reveals his plan. He will abandon the raft to lighten the load and swim alongside to push it. He braces himself, certain that this is the only path to survival. His resolve ignites the group. Akira Tomasada screams his name, swearing to assist, while Yua Minamoto vows to paddle with every ounce of her strength. But the freezing water and sheer exhaustion claim their prize. His body betrays him, refusing to move as he plunges into the dark abyss. As the light fades, he whispers a final apology, his mind drifting back to a game he once discovered. A find he now regrets with all his soul. A memory from his past life resurfaces. He envisions himself holding the game case, convinced it was a shipping error. Since it was a bargain, he figured he could simply flip it for a profit if it bored him. He was strictly an action and fighting game enthusiast, yet this title opened a gateway to a new world, introducing him to the very heroines he is now risking his life to save. Just as the darkness prepares to swallow him whole, a hand firmly grips his. Akira Tomasada dives into the depths, pulling him close with a gaze of unyielding determination. He barely registers her warmth, a lone spark of hope in the void. He wakes up on a sun-drenched beach, his head resting in Mikamo Hawaii's lap while a relieved Akira watches over them. Mikamo assures him that their nightmare is over. Suddenly, Yua spots a ship cutting through the horizon. Yua erupts in a triumphant shout, screaming that rescue has arrived. She frantically lists their shared victories: Aku's grit, Makako's raft, Arena's labor, and Akira's heroic rescue. Their unity brought them this far, and she prepares to scream until the ship hears them. His relief is shattered by a sharp, agonizing sting as someone pinches his ear. He yelps in pain, struck by a surreal realization. Since he conquered every route in the game, it's finally their turn to save him. He jolts awake in a daze, finding himself buckled into an airplane seat. Elena Hiroi leans in, announcing their arrival in Okinawa. Disoriented, he demands answers, while a nearby Mikamo Hawaii sighs, wishing for a peaceful trip for once. Elena notes his restless slumber, and across the aisle, Akira Tomasada agrees. She admits she felt as if she were enduring some grueling, otherworldly trial herself. The sentiment is shared by the entire group. Yua Minamoto yawns, feeling drained despite the nap, while Mikamo and Elena confess to haunting nightmares they can't quite remember. For Yuto, the memory is terrifyingly vivid. He remembers every detail: the crash, the isolation, and the struggle for survival. He prays it was all just a twisted nightmare he'll never have to face again. Clutching his Okinawa tour guide, he makes a silent plea to the universe, hoping this time he can just enjoy the vacation in peace. Yuto and the four girls step onto a sun-soaked street lined with palm trees. They've finally reached their destination. He shouts with pure excitement that they've made it to Okinawa, and the girls marvel at the local Shisa statues. His excitement peaks as he realizes the dream vacation is finally happening. He announces they have 30 minutes of free time before the group reconvenes. The girls are ecstatic to finally enjoy a normal trip after the horrors of the island, but their interests immediately clash. Mikamo is already exhausted and wants to rest, while Yua is desperate to hit the shops. Akira argues that heading straight to the hotel is a waste of time. Yuto watches the chaos, realizing everyone is on a completely different page. He weighs his options carefully. The safest bet is to follow Akira, as her plan seems to balance everyone's interests. He locks in his decision. Option 3. Springing into action, Yuto suggests they split up and meet later if they have different goals. Akira agrees, warning the group not to be late as they part ways. As the others depart, Elena Hiroi lingers, asking why they had to separate. Yuto explains that traveling in a massive pack is a logistical nightmare. She accepts the logic, but when he asks why she looks so suspiciously happy, she immediately gets flustered. Her inner thoughts reveal her true motive. She just wants everyone to find happiness and have the time of their lives on this tour. She wears a determined smile, fully committed to her mission. Her goal is simple: Ensure every heroine in this game finds happiness. Suddenly, Kito's voice breaks her concentration. He admits he doesn't hate that side of her, leaving Elena stunned by his unexpected honesty. Her shock instantly shifts into pure embarrassment. When Yudo asks for clarification, she denies everything and makes a frantic exit, leaving him standing there in total confusion. He checks his watch as panic surges through him. Makako's affection score has plummeted to 50. The system is penalizing him for their lack of interaction, and if he doesn't act fast, he's headed straight for a devastating bad end. Meanwhile, Mikako wanders down a sun-drenched street, sighing in loneliness. She can't help but feel they should have spent this time together as a group. Her melancholy is interrupted when a hand suddenly grips her arm. She spins around, face flushing crimson as she finds Yudo standing there. She demands to know why he's here when they were supposed to go their separate ways. He notices the pout forming on her lips, a clear sign of her growing displeasure. Internally, he scrambles for a way to salvage the situation. A brilliant idea strikes him. Flashing a bright smile, he suggests they go grab some ice cream. The sudden proposal catches Mikako off guard, leaving her wondering about his sudden change of heart. He explains that he saw her staring longingly at the ice cream shop earlier. With a playful grin, he tells her she looked incredibly cute, causing her to blush a deep shade of red. Flustered yet clearly pleased, she shyly accepts his offer. A quick glance at his watch confirms the victory. Mikako's affection score has jumped to 70, exactly as he planned.